I've got a joke for you. I'll break the ice, right? So, do you know why the Korean show horse kept getting given loads of sugar cubes? Because when the owner would say, "Have you been a good boy?" he would say, "Nay."
Oh my god.
That's. I've just broken boundaries. I've crossed cultures there. I've sort of ingratiated myself with your people. I've shown that we can learn about other cultures, and from it, we can all enjoy a moment of hilarity. So there you go. That's the free one for you there at the beginning.
Great joke, great joke.
Wasn't bad, was it? Wasn't bad.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That was beautiful.
So have we started the show now, by the way?
Yeah. The show
That better be the beginning of the show, obviously, yeah. So that was impromptu, so I didn't make that. No, that's not a fucking joke book. There's no Snapple lid that you pull that off from underneath, you know. I had to come up with that shit. I had to work hard for it. I know Loco's already like, that wasn't at the beginning of the notes, but the notes, Doran, just stay to the notes. Like, I told you, son. I know what I'm doing at this point in time. So we'll start the episode. It's Listen Loco, episode 11. I've realised, by the way, the one mistake I've made is I've failed in my own branding, Loco, which is every time I try to fuck with you, I should always start it, Listen Loco, and then say the thing I'm going to say, shouldn't I? But sometimes I just go like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though.
That's the problem. I should really do it like that. So, to be fair, that would have also been a great name for the show, isn't it? Like, here's the thing, because I do say that about 7,000 times. But anyway, for episode 11, people will realise if they've watched the past shows, we do generally tailor the topics around the guest. It's not we just bring on a guest and put a random list of topics in front of them. Who would do that? Other people. State of the League, I believe it used to be called. On this particular show, what we do is we pick people who actually know about their regions. Not always. Gilly has kind of showed us wrong on that one. But you know what? Everyone makes mistakes. So you can't have a 100% hit rate. So we haven't yet had a fully Korean episode. Mainly because, and I can tell you, Loco, this is actually something that was quite sad. I had to find out myself last year. Well, this year, but earlier in the year. When I did a show with Emily Rand, which was just about the LCK, you wouldn't believe how many pro players and coaches who I know in the past in interviews have said they watch LCK, who wouldn't come on the show, and not for everyone who's going to mean like, haha, they just didn't want to come on the show. Like, no, they literally said, I'd like to come on the show, but I don't know enough about the LCK. Like, I only watch the marquee matchups, you know, and I only know the big name players. And if you ask me, for example, this would be the best example. If you ask me about, like, you know, the new Rocks Tigers lineup or the new Afrika Freaks lineup, I'm just not going to know that much, you know, like I'm not going to know the newer players. I'm not going to know the new, like, and so a lot of them bowed out. So it's actually really hard to find people if you want to do an episode in depth about the LCK. So we've done NALCS, about 5 versions of that. We've done a few EULCS ones because Loco likes to tempt fate with his own knowledge about the EULCS and potentially make massive blunders.
Whoa, my European knowledge has been getting better. I knew who Mickey X was.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Here's the thing. You're not doing badly, actually. You know, you've extracted a decent amount. But the problem is everyone who watches the EULCS religiously is obviously going to flame the fuck out of you.
They're going to flame me anyways. They still haven't gotten over Crash and Burn, that Fnatic era.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. But that does put a lot of pressure on Ashley here because this is the LCK episode now. Now we have to talk about the LCK, and there's no excuses now. You have to know what the fuck you're talking about. So our guest for this episode is Ashley Kang, and she is a reporter, journalist over in Korea. If you actually did follow the LCK, whoever's out there who watches the LCK like me and Emily Rand, you would have seen she did loads of the interviews after the games. And unlike, this is actually probably the one area that I don't think we've ever had anyone like this in before, is we've had people before who knew Korean and English very well. So like Little Susie's, a bunch of people who could do the interviews and stuff.
Me?
But I've never actually seen, I haven't finished the sentence.
Loco, you're Korean.
But there's never been a person actually who spoke fluent English, fluent Korean, and also knew enough about the game that they could sort of like make it game related. This guy's a fucking moron, and like, yeah, go on, Loco, my mistake. What was your epic run as an interviewer in Korea?
I did few interviews. Okay, you're right, dog.
Exactly. I know you hadn't even finished that. Like, okay, right. Like, this is what we'll do, Ashley. Like, Loco, I'm very impressed that you can speak English and Korean. Like, there we go. I've given him the attention he needed to begin the episode there. Sort of a vague comment. Now get back to the intro.
Okay.
In the intro, so Ashley does this all, but she does it for a website called Horizon or something like that. And you're also working with Invin Global, right? So
and ESPN.
Loco, did this classic move, right? Which, again, he's new to this business of content creation of talk shows, you know. He doesn't know what the etiquette is. So I always tell rookie interviewers, right, one thing you never actually do is say to someone famous, introduce yourself, please. Because what that actually implies is you don't know enough about them to introduce them, and the fans who are watching don't know them, which begs the question, why are you interviewing them? Like, in this scenario, you've almost invalidated the interview. So Loco wanted me to ask, like, what are these websites? Who are you? That's actually kind of bullshit. Like, I basically told people who you were there. So is there anything we need to add to that introduction that's pertinent information before we just get straight into the heart of the LCK, Ashley? Is there anything you need to say?
I don't know. You pretty much covered the heart of it. So I'm a content creator based in Korea. I guess I can speak English. I guess I can speak Korean.
Sorry, were you just speaking English there? Oh, sorry, I didn't know we'd started. Right,
Wow.
okay, yeah, keep going. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. So, and I'm very passionate about Korean esports scene. So I decided to base myself in Seoul, and now I'm here.
Wow.
Yes, you are very based, as I outlined in the intro there. But she might not know that cultural reference. I don't know. It was a few years ago, wasn't it? Right. Okay. What about this then? Since I obviously did it as a joke to break the ice. When I set it up, like, you know, like, there's no bullshit. Like, you got to know everything about the LCK. And it's going to go in depth on this episode. And, you know, if you fail, then you fail. Like, are you confident? You think you're going to, like, put it this way. If people were to cheer for you, will you show good insights in this episode in true Korean fashion?
So, like, I'm not a caster. I'm like a complete analyst, but I do know all the rosters that have been confirmed in LCK now. And I even do check out the Challengers Korea once in a while. And
Sure.
especially in the summer season after Rift Rivals, I think I watched about 85%, 90% of the matches that happened in LCK, and that's a lot because LCK, we still do best of threes in LCK compared to NA, which doesn't do that anymore, and matches happen 5 or 6 days a week, so it is a full-time job to keep up with LCK, but I'm trying to do my best here. Doing the whole Korean polite.
Sure.
I'll do my best, you know.
Yes. Yes.
Hard.
Yeah.
Sorry for not performing kind of thing going on.
Well, you know, I mean, Loco's never had to say that, so maybe he's not that Korean.
Well, because I don't do shitty. Oh, it's
Sorry,
Oh, are
you-
you calling me shitty?
No, it's all right. He didn't get the double
yeah.
entendre on that one. Don't worry about it. He didn't get the double entendre on that one. We'll keep going, right? What about this then? So here's the thing. By the way, I'm impressed already that you watched 90% of the games, because I'll tell you right now, no human, like, if I found out in Guantanamo Bay they just make the prisoners watch Kang do monster games, I'd be like, yeah, Geneva Human Rights Convention, this is unacceptable. No one should be put through this. Like that, there's certain games you shouldn't have to watch. You know, I don't care what the scenario is, but fair enough.
Well, Kong the Monster wasn't around in the summer season, but we had some games like Gina versus Barbecue Olivers, and
Yikes.
Yes. Well, I will correct you there, Ashley. It's not the barbecue Olivers, it's the BBQ.
BBQ.
Olivers,
You
isn't
gotta
it?
let- it's actually
you
not
made a classic
barbecue.
mistake. Are you fake? Are you actually Korean? It's better, best quality. What are you talking about? It wasn't barbecue. Don't even barbecue, it's fried. Oh, Loco, cancel the episode, shut the stream down. This hasn't worked out. Like, I gave it a try. I said to you, I was very open-minded, but it's already clearly, you know, I've already figured out the fraud, so it's over. No, let's start here then. So when you said that you even watched the challenges scene, now what's funny is people are going to think I'm in a meme on this, but the insane thing about the Korean challenges scene actually has been, it seems like it's actually producing a lot of quality, because obviously the Griffin guys came from there. People now understand that team, Damn One or whatever they're called, with the ones that apparently were like tooling up like Cloud9 and Fnatic or whatever when they were scrimming them at Worlds where they couldn't get scrimmed. So in theory, there's actually like real talent coming through that. So unlike the Kongdu games, you weren't wasting your time when you watch Challenge. It's actually potentially got some good talent, right?
So what I like about watching challenges is this is what I found about LCK, maybe just for 2018, but there is a lot of focus on veteran players, like known names like the Old Rocks, Smeb, Kuro, Faker, Bang, Wolf, and there hasn't been a lot of rookie representation in the LCK first level league this year. So that's one of the reasons I'm not going to say that I watched all of the Challenger series. I watched some of the player things as well as the promotions, but they have a higher rookie representation. The meta, like, they adapt to meta more quickly, and you recognize some of the solo queue players that you've seen on OPGG. Oh, okay, he made a debut to pro, so it feels like a younger scene. Well, that kind of makes sense. It's a younger scene, but it feels like a younger scene in a
More
lot of different
grassroots.
ways. And
Yeah.
so that's why I really like catching up with challenges scene, even though I would like to do it more.
Okay, right. Here's the real question, Loco. You listen. We don't pull any punches on this show.
I noticed.
How much of the LCK does Locodoco watch?
Actually, for last year, right? Very, very little. So whenever I am coaching, I'll watch almost all the LCK games. Or if I get way too busy, I'll have an analyst point me out games, and then he'll write summaries for games, and then I'll watch the ones that are very relevant to our team. But because I wasn't coaching last split, I didn't feel the really need to watch LCK. I started watching a little bit when Griffin became really hyped, and I watched finals and playoffs. But like earlier season, pretty much non-existent. Playoffs, probably like 60-70%. But I went back and watched a few of the Griffin games.
Right, good news, guys. So now Loco's going to be spitting straight, made-up opinions about his own fucking home region.
Fuck?
Brilliant, man. He didn't even come prepared for his own country. Like, man alive.
Would you want me to go back and watch all of LCK?
Oh, if you could be polite enough, yeah, why not?
I had to watch NA, I had to watch you. Oh.
It's too easy to trigger Loco, isn't it? It's like every time he just goes so deep on the bait. It's like it's not until he's on your plate with like a piece of lemon next to it. He's like, all right, that was bait. Fair enough, all right. Well, too late for me now. So, okay, what about this then?
Yeah.
If we're going to start talking about the LCK, before we get into specific teams, I thought a good topic to talk about is you can't ignore the elephant in the room of Worlds, which is that no Korean team made the final. Even the Korean #1 seed went out in the round of it, and even worse, went out to an EU team and the 3rd seed EU team at that. So, like, you can put in context of, yeah, G2 was good and the meta and all the rest of it, but, like, on the surface, for the history of Korean League Legends, that's kind of an unacceptable situation, right? What do you think of this, Ashley? Like, has that shaken up the Korean scene? Do you think that has informed these, I mean, seemingly the craziest off-season we've ever seen in LCK?
So, Thorin, I'm gonna ask a question back to you. Do you think the crazy off-season we had in LCK is because of the results in Worlds? Is that your opinion at the moment?
That is literally the question I just asked you at the end there. But I mean, good strategy. I mean, you try that, Loco. If I ask you a question you don't know, mate, just ask me. Go, well, interesting, you should ask that, Thorin. What do you think of the same question back to you? And then take notes while I answer. Like, yes, Ashley.
This is a talk show, not an interview.
Yes,
You're a talk show guest. You're not an interviewer.
She did a good job there. She was like, that is a good question. Let me ask it. No, here's the thing. I'll set you up.
Let's make Ashley go first. I want to test her knowledge.
Yeah. Okay, come on. You've got to go first. Come on. Go for it.
So I think there are two parts to it. So obviously the underperformance, that's a mild way of saying it, underperformance of LCK has shaken up the LCK scene quite a bit, because the Korean teams have, and the Korean audience have become so used to winning all the time. Like, yeah, we're almost spoiled, and suddenly, like, from the semifinals, there isn't a single Korean team. It's like a bit of a blow to everyone's head. Has that impacted the crazy off-season? I will say to a certain extent, because this is me guessing, right? But if the teams don't perform, the teams also have to pull down the budget. And if you pull down the budget, you can't keep all the players, even if you want to maintain the roster. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is the teams may not be satisfied with the result, and they want to go through drastic changes. So, okay, so we'll probably like change up 3 or 4 players, and that could be the second reason why we had such a crazy rosters. And I think the third reason why we had such a crazy roster is NA is franchising, NA has franchised, EU is franchising, and Turkey has also gone through some franchising. So there is more money available in other scenes. Korea is the only major region at the moment who hasn't gone through franchising. So the offers from Korea cannot be as financially competitive. This is me purely guessing. So this offseason we've seen like almost like a mini exodus, not as big as the one in 2014, but a lot of the top players, especially in the bot lane, which impacted the offseason pretty heavily, go to NA, go to EU, even go to Turkey. And yeah, I think those are the 3 biggest reasons.
Okay. Right, come on then, Loco. What do you think?
I mean, dude, Korean fans were so pissed. They were especially so pissed at Gen G Like I remember like speaking to a few of my friends, like they're like, 씨발 젠지, 진짜 이럴 거면 왜 가? Like they're like, why the fuck did Gen G like go to Worlds like if they're gonna perform like this? I've never seen like Korean fans like these aren't like toxic fans. These are like people I knew, like guys
honor
and
roll
girls,
students, best guys ever.
like no guys and girls like that have been so supportive of like Korean scene, like use curse words and like just curse at Gen G for like performing so badly and taking up a spot. Like Korean fans were really mad, and also a huge thing that I think Ashley is too polite to not mention is Korean coaches were really shitty this year. I think from the rumors I heard, like there were a lot of Korean coaches not putting in the work, and players carried brunt of the weight. So coaching staff, there's a lot of coaching staff changes that also went on. Korean teams pretty slow to release news about their roster changes and staff changes. With Kespa coming up, I think we'll know if there was actually a lot of coaching staff changes or it was just rumors. But from what I heard, like people were hella pissed at coaches too. So I mean, yeah, like I mean, Korea was cocky as hell this year. We lost to China like 4 times, I think, like All Stars, Rift Rivals, MSI, Asiana Games, and we were still cocky going into Worlds.
Asiana Games?
Huh? Asian Games.
Asian Games. Oh, sorry. Maybe Asiana Airlines will sponsor us. But anyways, Asian Games.
Maybe when Australia takes over China and Korea, it'll become the new continent of Asiana or something. I don't know. It's pretty good. Not bad. Yeah, keep going.
But yeah, we lost to China 4 times this year, and then we were still cocky going into Worlds. We didn't adjust our play style. So yeah, there was gonna be like a big uproar. And a lot of people were stating like doom and gloom for the Korean scene. That's definitely not the case. Like money flowing into Korea is higher than ever. There's rumors of franchising in 2020. And I personally helped consult 2 teams regarding rosters. Like, so they were looking for outside help. They were looking for a lot of money was being spent. A team got bought out. A lot of offers were made. Griffin got bought out. Battle Comics also got bought out. There's just a lot of money flowing into Korea and a lot of need for change. So we had this like big like shift and a lot of roster changes.
Okay. Like I, if I had to guess, I mean, yeah, I did sort of give it away by the question there by setting up some of the parameters. Like, I think that's got to be one of the biggest reasons as to why they made these moves. Because the key thing is, whenever Korean teams have success, they're actually some of the most reticent people you'll ever see to make big changes. That's why if you look at like the SK Telecom, Rocks Tigers, some of these players had, you know, a dodgy split or had a dodgy tournament from time to time. But they would still keep the player if they thought like, oh, we have the winning formula, you know, like you don't mess with the formula too much. Maybe you bring in like a sub and he can chai for the spot, you know. That's why if you look at this year's, it's hard to not say last year because obviously it's still technically 2018, but it feels like last year because it was last season. This year's tournaments in LCK, I think if you look at some of the teams that did badly, like Gen G, like SK Telecom, these were the teams that weren't willing to make drastic changes, even when they were failing domestically. Like they still thought, no, the formula. In fact, if anything, maybe that ties into how Koreans coach the teams. They were it's like the equivalent of you tell someone what to do, and then they can't do it, and you go, oh, you just didn't understand, right? Let's do it again. Like, do it the way I said, like this, okay? And then they don't do it again, and you go, oh, the guy's not getting it right. We'll try again. Try a third time. Whereas, like, in that kind of scenario, eventually, if you've had enough failure, you've got to take drastic action, you know? You've got to say, like, oh, maybe a big part of the plan doesn't work. Maybe I need, like, 2 new players. Maybe I need to throw out someone who was a great player for me, but that was in the past. That was a season ago. That was 6 months ago. I mean, League of Legends, the rough thing about League of Legends with the meta and the off-season is you can legitimately be on top of the world at the end of Worlds, and in the spring split, you could have dropped to be like garbage, basically, relative to whatever scene you're in. That's kind of crazy for any esports game. You know, you don't really drop off that heavily in a lot of the other games. So I actually think, if anything, Korea finally activated the idea of you have to buy talent sometimes. You have to get rid of the old guys earlier than possible. In fact, one of the things I really respect about some of the squads that did drastic moves this offseason is some of them didn't even need to. Like some of the squads, like Kingzone's a great example. Like the fact that they have almost none of the players remaining, and the fact that some of the other KT even caught a whole load of players, they won the LCK finally. They actually could have legit gone deeper in Worlds. They still made playoffs. Like the idea they cut half the entire team is wild, but it's exciting. It's kind of I kind of credit them. I'll give them congratulations if they do something well out of it. Pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, you know the coaching thing you mentioned. There's like a funny thing. Like the stereotype is, oh, Asians are good at math. Asians are good at math. Like, why aren't Asians good at like language subjects or like social
Okay.
studies or history. So the reason why Asians are good at math is Asians work harder, right? So math is the subject that's most proportionate to time spent and proficiency on the subject. So like it doesn't mean if you study a lot for history that you're going to do bad in history or
Yes.
it's hard to learn, but math is the one that's most proportionate to the time spent. That's why Asians are good at math, because it's a subject where if you spend the time, you're gonna get the results. So yeah, like the thing you mentioned about coaching, like just doing it again, like focusing on the basics, like doing what we know works is like a very, very Confucius and a very Asian way of thinking and like culture.
Like, I definitely want to ask you to jump in on this topic, but I'll broaden it a little bit to tie in the worlds angle, actually, because I think this is where Korea missed something about worlds, which is if you actually look in history at the teams who tended to be able to upset Korea the best, right? Ignoring, because funnily enough, China didn't actually do it that often, even though China had a lot of amazing individual players. You know, you would have thought they should have been the ones that did it, right? But actually, China's flaw is that each Chinese team had its own set style, and if you learned that style and you had a better style anyway, you probably win against it. The teams that actually had the most upset success against Koreans were either like Western teams with very good players, but the style's so fluid because the players in the game can change up how they play and do totally different things that maybe the coach didn't even prepare. They didn't have a set game plan as much, so it's harder to predict that and to counter-strat it, as it were. Or it was teams that they just had no way of expecting what they would be like. So it was like the Flash Wolves or something. No one's putting in all your hours preparing for the Flash Wolves. No, when you see the Flash Wolves get a new player in this past seasons, a new top laner, a new AD cap, you're not going to think that guy's going to be good. You're going to think, oh, it's just some other LNS player. Yeah, we're going to win this game easily. It's the teams that the Koreans do the best against is teams that play a very set style, and you can plan for that, you can prepare for that, you can have all your game outlined. So as you said with the whole math example there, obviously another thing about mathematics is you can break it down into smaller parts, and you can learn a technique that lets you learn this angle here. And then once you build that, you can build off of that into something else. In this particular scenario, I've always felt like from all the esports games I've followed, Koreans do the worst when they kind of don't know what the other person is going to do. Or even worse, in this world, when the whole meta changed drastically and a lot of what everyone was doing before didn't work, they didn't even know what they were going to do. And that was the hardest time because, as you saw, Loco, the team that was the most unacceptable for failing at Worlds was KT Rolster. I don't blame Gen.G. I don't think they were a good team anyway. And they basically lived and died off the style that just didn't work at Worlds. Then you go look at a Freak of Freaks. You know what? They obviously flummoxed it. They blew it. But fair enough. They were playing a team who was like adapting over the tournament. So again, you can't prepare for what they were going to do. Cloud9 against Gambit wasn't Cloud9 against a Freak of Freaks. A Freak of Freaks also, by the way, had rookies. They had players who've never been to like a massive tournament like Worlds before. But KT Rolster had the players and all over the map where they should have been able to adapt week to week. They should have been able to adapt before the quarterfinals. Oh, that reminds me. I said it was G2 who beat them before. Obviously, it wasn't. It was IG who beat them, the eventual champions. But they should have been the team who could have themselves swapped to whatever the meta was and been the best. But I don't think that, as I said in line with before, I don't think that was really their mentality. They didn't even see the world that way. They seemed to think like RNG, no, we'll make everyone else adapt to our meta. Like if we just do what we want to do the best, what we've prepared, what we've practiced, how our players play, then somehow the logic was by putting in the hours, which you've already done, and then building on that, that will give you the success. You don't want to be the team who just switches it up overnight and does something totally different.
So if I can add to that, like, completely agree with you. And if
you don't have to agree, by the way. You can add to it. You can disagree. You can call Loco an idiot. You can roast him. You can bring up shit about his past. But you can definitely make a comment now. Please go ahead.
You can say rude things about Dorn too.
Go ahead and try.
Okay.
No, but anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so if you watch all the interviews that like all the EU players did after the matches, as well as some of the analysts in Korea was doing, is it looked like the Korean laners weren't playing to win, like they were playing not to lose, and there is the whole confidence issue coming in again. And I think Korea as a scene became too closed down. So in Korean scene, everyone was playing that whole formula of okay, go halves in lane, or let's just like dominate the lane slightly, like play more aggressive when the jungler comes, like this really fixed formula, like late game damage comp. And Koreans, like the players within Korean Sea, got so used to playing a variation of that formula. So when like teams like G2 or what was the other team, like G2 or Cloud9 came in and tried like a completely different formula. They were like, okay, we don't know what to do. Like, we're actually scared. But compared to that, because everyone knows Korea as the masters of macro and rotation and like, being able to play strategically, the European teams or NA teams that were facing Korea knew exactly what to expect. And there wasn't that element of surprise when the other teams were trying to topple down Korea. So I think there is that element of surprise which came down to like confident issues. The Korean team suddenly not feeling the confident in game, while EU and NA is like, hey, maybe we can topple down these giants. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, I
Fair
mean,
enough. See, Loco, what you were talking about there, where it's like, the Korean laners were trying not to lose as opposed to like going for it, playing to win and potentially risking losing. Listen, I'm just going to give you some free advice as a friend. That's how you've got to approach women. You've got to go for it.
Do not give me women tips. Do not fucking give me women tips.
If you fail, then they're never going to talk to you again. They're going to think you're an asshole, you're not funny, you're not charming. But the last thing you want to do is be a nice guy, just get stuck in that friend zone again, like have that really long contacts list in your phone, and you're like, oh, who's calling me now? Betha, which one of those is that? Like 7? Well, like, you just want to go for it, mate. And then narrow your field down and just get the people who know what they're doing. So the Korean scene could learn from that. You could learn from that. Everyone could learn from that. Just a bit of a free tip for the world.
Oh my god. I don't know. Like, I talk to women fine. I don't need your help. And if I needed help, I would talk to other people. But back onto the Korean. Oh my god, I hate you, Doran. Also, okay. Anyways, back to like the Korean scene thing. I definitely agree with Ashley where Koreans didn't play against aggression other than from Griffin. So they just developed a meta where it was very weak to aggression early and aggressive comps and comps with a lot of pick potential and a lot of vision control, where they were both playing late game comps in a meta where teams shouldn't have been, and then when they went to Worlds they got fucked by the teams that were actually playing the correct comps for the meta. So I mean, completely agree with Ashley. So yeah.
Okay, right, so here's the question then, before we dive into the specific rosters. Do you think that the Koreans themselves, like the coaches and the organizations generally, and maybe the players, like it's obviously tougher to know whether the players do you think that they also have a similar view? Like that's part of the reason why then they've done these big roster moves, is that they think that we have to do something different this year. Like we can't keep doing the same formula over again.
Well, I think after like having such a big failure, like let's say like you did something really bad. If you don't change, it doesn't look like you learn. You can like change your mind, like that's why I feel like sometimes people shave their head after they do something bad. They're like, I really learned this time, and they shave their head. Like it's like a sign of like change, sign of like learning. So
yes,
I think a lot of Korean teams could have gotten away without.
This is in Korea, by the way. He means that you're not in the West. If you're in the West, that just means you love to fuck.
What?
Listen, I don't want to tell you about a certain scene and different sexualities, Loco, but if you might want to explore San Francisco, mate. You'll have a wild time. Just go in the right clubs. I'll give you some names, And if you see any bald dudes there, they're wearing leather. Well, it depends what you're up for. God, could be the fucking time of your life. Anyway, back on track.
Jesus Christ.
It was just a side comment. You're the one who always makes it into a big thing. Keep going.
Okay.
It's just a bang out on the side. Keep going.
Anyways, I think a lot of Korean teams could have gotten away without changing their roster so dramatically and just learning from the mistakes and actually changing things up for 2019 in terms of play style, in terms of how they coach and like kind of the work put in. But they're like, okay, we fucked up. Now, like, we're really serious for 2019, so we're going to replace everyone. That's going to show us, like, we're going to change a lot. Like, I thought, like, the Kingdom moves were a lot of side grays. I was like, okay, you went from BDD to Pawn. You went from Prey to Death. Like, are these changes, like, really, like, that dramatic? Like, you went from Khan to, like, Rascal, right? Like, Khan to Rascal, like,
yes.
Kina to Cuds, like, you changed, but did you really change for the better? Like, it's a lot of the changes I thought were unnecessary and like were changed for the sake of change.
So I think there is a both sides to that, right? So there might be teams letting go certain players, but it also might be a thing about players wanting to not being satisfied with this year's result and maybe wanted to explore different options and try new things. So
For sure.
like for Kingdom especially, I get the feeling that players also wanted to explore different options because they weren't happy with the not being able to go to Worlds and but going that being said, going back to Thorin's question, I do think that we're gonna see some more changes because it goes back to the all Asian perception of okay, they like to play against formula, they like to do with proven and known, and another thing that's quite Asian and Korean is they're extremely result based. So if you're winning and if you're atop the class, you can get away with anything, but if you're losing, then you have to do you're suddenly in the spotlight. You have to do everything to fix the situation. Going back to Loco's about okay, so you have to shave your head to show how much of an extreme you're going in order to change. So because Korea is now in the losing spot, they're gonna do everything to go back to the top because Koreans like to win, and that has been the expectation all the time.
Funny thing about Korean schools. So after tests and when grade cards come in, people post on the bulletin board your test scores and your rank in your class and your rank in your school. On the bulletin boards, it will say Locodoco got 90 out of 100. He placed 7th in his class. On the fucking bulletin board where it's public. I can't ever imagine that for American schools. American schools, there'd be moms very upset. I can't believe you would do this. Blah. This is not correct. This is putting people down. Leave no child behind. I am not okay for this. Where in Korea, it's the bottom tier kids are oh my god, fuck my life, fuck my life, fuck my life, fuck my life. Where we shame people that do badly. Where I feel in Western culture, it's okay. Everyone travels at their own pace. You're very special. Mommy loves you. We think you're cute. It's very different in culture in terms of results and how much we propped it up and how much we shame it. And in America, where other things are more valued, and it's not just about grades and not just about results.
Sure. I mean, we actually addressed that particular topic you brought up there, Ashley, on the previous episode where I asked Loco about this concept that, in a way, it's something I respect about Koreans, because the positive side of it is if they fail, as in they don't succeed in the goal of winning the tournament, which, by the way, I mean, for already that's a division between Westerners and Koreans there. You have Westerners who finished top 4 at Worlds, and they're still bragging about it now. Hey, remember the time I was top 4 at Worlds? In fact, fucking Loco's become very Korean in that sense. He's still banging on about the time he came top 8 at one Worlds and got his head smashed in immediately. I don't. What colour medal do you get for 5th to 8th again? There isn't one. Yeah, my bad. Only the one in your brain. But anyway. No reaction? You didn't even whip your hair back and forth like a fucking Korean Willow Smith there. What's going on?
It's just a normal part of the show.
Fair enough. Okay. No, but here's the thing. Like I said, I actually can respect the fact that if you're going for the top spot and you don't reach it, even if you finish second, people can be a bit harsh on themselves. But hopefully the positive is you just look for whatever mistakes you made and you still try to improve. In fact, I even made the point to him there that one thing I always admired as well, because it sounds to Westerners like you're just saying this in interviews to be a try-hard, but I actually think there are Korean teams who genuinely do win and then go, but I did make a mistake in that game that was unacceptable and I will practice to get better from that. That is so hard to get into people who are Westerners, that mentality. They'll be dude, calm down, we won. What's the big deal?
Yeah, why are you being such a try-hard? We won.
Yeah, so the problem is that's the upside. And to be fair, obviously there are times where they're right, you did win and it wouldn't have been a big deal to not make. But the downside, I think, on the other way, which is why I think there was such an extreme reaction with the roster moves, is I think Koreans go too far the other way in terms of they act as though whatever the result was had to be that way. It was 100%, whoever won the game was 100% going to win the game. And so my problem is they overreact sometimes to what are real upsets, a one-off upset that wouldn't have happened again. Because think about it this way. If I told you that someone is an 80-20 favorite in a game, that's a pretty big favorite. You'd be very hard pressed in a traditional sport in a final or something to get a favorite that big. People would be putting a lot of money on one of those teams. But that still means 2 out of 10 times the underdog team wins. But if the underdog team wins there, you don't go, oh, we were wrong entirely. It turns out they were the favorite. Actually, they were way better. I'll give you an example. So a very famous NFL example of where this happened was in 2007 when the Patriots team won every single game. They went 16-0, and in the final, they were playing a team, the New York Giants, who actually were a wild card team. They had to go all the way through the playoffs, play on the road and against all this sort of stuff. And eventually they won the final in what's considered a massive fluke. Now, the Korean mentality to that, right? Yes, the David Tyree catch. the Koreans would say, well, actually, the Patriots, like what they did is improve the whole way, and they did the right march, and like congratulations to them. They were the best team in all of American football. But the Patriots, they did well, but they should have been more humble and practiced for things they couldn't have possibly practiced for, and won anyway. And we apologize for our performance, and if you cheer for us, we will do a better job next season. Like that can be the negative side of it. So I think there's a positive and a negative to it. Like it's not like one way or the other, because I do think sometimes people overreact to moves. I think the one I gave before, we can start with this if you want as the roster, is the KT Rolster one. Mm-hmm. I can't believe they overreacted and literally just stripped the whole team apart and literally just kept. Initially, they were only keeping Smeb, then they kept Score as well. I assume that's because they didn't know if he'd do the military service or not, so they were waiting to see what happened there. So KT Rolster, what do you think here, Loco? They've only kept Smeb the top laner and Score the jungler, and then we've got new players. We've got BDD coming over from King's Own. We've got this new bot lane. What do you think of the KT Rolster team? Was it the right move to strip the whole team apart and keep two?
Actually, it's Snowflower support and BDD mid, right? And AD not announced for KT.
So Snowflower is the support, BDD is the mid, and they're yet to announce an ADC, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. So, whatchamacallit? I think KT actually.
You want to throw your name in the hat?
I think KT actually upgraded in a lot of roles, and KT had all their players on a 2-year contract. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, KT spent so much to get the Pawn, Mata, Deft, Smeb, Score roster possible." KT, so from what I heard, a lot of the players took a little bit of pay cut potentially to play in KT versus where they could have played elsewhere.
Okay.
So I think a lot of players were unhappy with their salary on KT to continue, and that's why they were going through changes. And this time KT's like, okay, we underspent, but this time we're going to spend even more. I think BDD was, after Faker, I think he was probably the hottest contested player in the offseason after Faker. So KT landing BDD is, I think, crazy good. Can either of you guys think of someone that would be number 2 after Faker that wouldn't be BDD? I can't think of anyone.
Like super contested. Yeah,
I'll say Mata.
Yeah. I think BDD over Mata for most teams.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
It depends. Do you mean like someone who people were trying to contact who maybe didn't leave, for example? Can we have people like that who didn't actually leave teams?
Sure. Like let's say after Faker, if you could pick one player to have on your team to start, who would you pick in Korea?
That's a tough one.
Like mid laner or just
anywhere.
Any position.
Anywhere.
So the reason why I picked Mata is Mata is not just a great support player. He's also a good shot caller. You usually want at least one shot caller in the bot lane, and being able to have Mata, who is like a amazing player, like super good vision control, as well as being a great shot caller, it's really hard to get that 3-in-1. That's one thing, and because Core JJ and Gorilla and Wolf all went overseas, the support pool in Korea suddenly thinned. So I think Mata was also very hotly contested because there were quite a lot of mid laner floating around the free agency in Korea, like Kuro, Yukal, like BDD.
Okay,
so I take on it, but who knows?
You're giving a lot of context for it, and I can see where Mata might make sense. One thing I do want to, I guess, challenge you a little bit on is the concept of shot caller is a very big concept in Western scenes, and I feel like it's a concept that's very overblown in Korean scenes. If you look at any of the Korean scenes, any of the Korean teams, they actually don't have a primary shot caller, and most Korean teams are known for all 5 players being very, very vocal. And while in West, it's like, who's our shot caller? Is it Hai? Is it like Bjergsen? Is Bjergsen the shot caller? Like Afromu shot caller, Double F shot caller. Like West, it's like very big on shot callers and like one person having a really strong voice and calling for a lot of things. In Korea, most teams.
I mean, technically, Bjergsen's only the shot caller when they win the games. When he's not, he was never the shot caller, and actually, no one was to blame. So, if we can just get that rumor and myth out of the way,
whenever Bjergsen loses, it's Locodoco's fault. In 2018,
or the jungler.
Jungler or Locodoco. In 2018, TSM didn't make worlds. Fucking Locodoco ruined the team. It's just the truth of it. But yeah, in the West, like we're really big on shot callers, but in Korea. A lot of the almost all 5 players, like always communicate, and it's very rare to find a team where it's like, oh, this one person is the shot caller. So I think like Mata being a big shot caller isn't that big of a draw. And I think even on SKT, he's not gonna be a big shot caller. I think everyone is gonna talk a lot.
Well, okay, Loco, what about this? This will have to be pure speculation, but I would assume a number of Korean teams must have reached out to Rookie and the Shy after Worlds and seen if they were interested in coming back. No?
No, I don't think they could even connect with them, and I think like I'm not sure about their contract, but so for Korean teams really don't like overpaying, and there's only two situations where Korean teams overpay, where they need to keep a player, they'll overpay for a player, and they really, really need to get this one player to fill out their roster or start their roster building process. It's at the start or at the finish. Those are the only times where they're paying for a player, where they need to start a roster or finish a roster, or they need to keep a player. So I guess it's like 3 times, but so like keeping Faker, like that's overpaying. Keeping Smep, they'll overpay. Keeping Keen, they'll overpay. King Zone try to overpay to keep BDD. But I think Korean teams would, like, let's say there's a team that wants to like start a franchise and start really, really strong. They could try to overpay for Rookie or the Shy, but it's hard to overpay Chinese orgs, especially an org like IG that just won Worlds. Like Rookie and Shy are at the top of their valuation right now. So how are you gonna get him?
Okay. So wait a minute. I have to just follow back on one thing there. Initially, you said that Koreans were actually like, there's an influx of money, it's higher than it's ever been. They're willing to spend. People are big free agents. So how do they judge if it's overvalued then? Like, for example, if you get Mata or you get Faker, you feel like whatever you play for these players is probably worth it, right? You might win everything. They somehow, even if Rookie is the best player in the world, they if it's too much, they don't think it's worth paying.
Yeah, they don't think it's worth paying, and like they think like top tier Korean players are worth somewhere like between like I don't think there's even that many players that break 1 million in Korea nowadays. I think you could probably count the amount of players that break 1 million on your hands. What to say about overpaying for players? I'll say this: they usually will not match North American or Western offers for the movable pieces. For like the immovable pieces like Keen, Faker, they'll match the Western offers, but for most of the movable pieces, like players, whenever they talk to European or North American or Chinese teams, most of them just go because the offers are double or 3 times. So
their logic is you just pay to keep the franchise player, and then you put other pieces around them based on whatever your budget is, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense.
One more thing.
What do you have? Yeah.
There's this player named Umpty, who's like a Korean.
He's a jungler.
Yeah, he's a jungler. Very, very hyped piece
right now, I believe. Yeah.
And he said on his stream, hey, like, so I got an offer from a Korean team. They're gonna pay me $10. Like he just used the imaginary number. They're gonna pay me $10. And then I have 2 offers. One offer that says they're gonna pay me $70, and one offer that's saying, I know the team is telling you they're gonna pay $70. We want you even more. We want to pay you more than $70. So he's getting offers 7 times the amount he's quoted in Korea. And he's saying, I really want to take the Korean offer. Like if I took this Korean offer, like it's going for a dream. It's about competing in Korea and going to Worlds and doing well in LCK. But when I look at the reality of things, it's really hard to turn down either of these offers that I'm getting. So yeah, that's like the reality where it's not even sometimes double or triple like the norm. You're getting 7 times the offer from foreign scenes. So yeah, hard to stay in Korea.
Anyway, though, going back, what do you think of the KT roster lineup?
I love it. I really wish they finished up with Prey. That would have been so good. Like finishing up, I think BDD is a straight upgrade. I love that Score and Smeb are staying. I think Smeb for sure, and probably, yeah. I mean, you honestly can't get a better jungler than Score unless you went someone like. Even if you get someone else, it would be arguable if they are better than Score. I think Score is one of the best, and he's also a really long-time player on KT, and they probably really want Score to retire on KT. KT's like really big on like players and like coaches retiring there, like Reach, like Flash. They have like huge retirement ceremonies.
Lee Ji-hoon, he retired there as well.
So like
a little bit of BM. Go on. Yeah, go on. Jump in.
So it's quite interesting that Loco rates KT's current roster quite highly, because I actually think that KT lost the off-season.
Really?
So a little bit.
So?
That's nice, but I think it's a slightly downgrade because So UCal decided to leave the team, and it's really good that they managed to secure BDD. I don't know where that roster would go without BDD, but I rate UCal personally pretty highly, and because he's 17,
Over
he has room
BDD?
to grow even more.
Over
Huh?
BDD.
No. Okay, let me finish.
Okay.
I
know.
rate-
I have this all the time. Actually, he doesn't even finish the sentence. You know, like if there's a comma coming and there's some sick shit that, like, you know, makes the rest of it make sense. But he's like, you're just like, what if the sky was the sky? You can't talk about the sky with the fucking stars. Like, come on, mate. Anyway, go on and keep going. Continue. What about UCal?
So like, I rate UCal pretty highly, and I think UCal also has a high ceiling because he's only 17 right now, and he has a lot more room to growth. And KT could have almost grown UCal as like a new franchise hero that is supposed to come after Score retires and maybe Smeb eventually offers.
It's not a Pokemon, you know.
offer.
Fair enough. Okay. Just keep going. Don't worry about it.
And I do think that even though the top lane continues to, the top and mid lane continues to be strong, I don't know what they're gonna do with the bot lane. Even though they haven't announced the AD carry yet, I look at the free agency season and I can't see a good AD carry that is decent enough to even try to replace Deft. And I don't think Snowflower is an upgrade to Mata. So it looks like BDD is a slight upgrade to UCal in my opinion. Like the opinions might differ, and the bot lane has been a major downgrade. So I think that KT has bled a little bit in this offseason. That's me.
I'm really surprised by that part that you said there, though, Loco. The idea that, like, it was UCal choosing to leave and go over to, he went to Africa Freaks.
Africa
and then
Freaks.
BDD comes as the replace. Like, if I had to assume, my assumption would be they told UCal, listen, it was great, but hit the bricks. We're getting BDD now, mate. He was an MVP of the league. And the fact that he's gone to Africa Freaks, who externally at least isn't as established a name, you know, you don't think there's a bigger team. I figured that was just he had to look elsewhere, and there was no SK Telecom available, no KT roster available. So, you know, what's left? He went for Africa Freaks. I figured it was the other way around entirely. Do you have like actual sources on this, Ashley? Is this just speculation on your part? Is this like legit? What you found out is the story? Obviously, the KT overlords just silenced her immediately. Like, do not say that. You must continue the lie that we chose to do these moves.
Dude, I'm impressed, Dorian. You haven't made one like inappropriate or like sexual joke towards Ashley at me.
Why would I do that?
Why would you do that? Are you fucking serious? I was so nervous. I was like, oh my god, Ashley's a good friend. I want to bring her on the show. I think she'd be intelligent and I think she'd do a great job. But if I bring her on, like, Dor might make weird sexual jokes and I don't want.
I know. Listen, I know you're threatened by me as sort of the alpha male of the group.
How am I threatened by you? Oh my god!
And then I'll just be fucking throwing game at them, and then all of a sudden these women that you respected will be like, oh my god. Oh, yes, tell me more. But no, actually, believe it or not, Loco, a little secret. Again, I'll let people behind the curtain. Taylor, banter and stuff like that, based on whether or not I think the person knows, like, the tone, what I'm going with, and they can take it, etc. So I tend to just start off slow with people I don't know, you know.
Okay. I have to, like, the camps are switched, so I'm going to have to redo the boxes. Give me a second.
The only weird thing is, Loco, like, I don't know if it's the server itself, because I noticed you've changed the region, but like, I'm not lagging. I get both of your cameras fine on your sound, but bizarrely on your sound, Local, your voice has gone like 3 octaves lower, which I believe is like a sign of lagging or something. I'm not sure, but you sound like way lower voice.
Give me 1 sec. Let me.
You sound like Tyler the Creator in a skit right now, like, hey, you guys, what are you talking about? I'm a good rapper. Welcome back to the show. No one even knows the reference there. Straight Fire, by the way. Straight Fire if you know anything about hip hop.
Right.
I'm not talking about hip hop like where you put one verse of a girl awkwardly rapping in a K-pop song. That's for teenagers. Like, that's not actually hip hop. I don't know if you know. I know Korea isn't aware of that because I've always thought, I've even said this, and you see if you can corroborate this for me, Ashley. When they have a K-pop group like that, and obviously part of the K-pop group phenomenon is like what they used to do with boy bands manufactured in the West. The idea is like, you know, there's an archetype for each different type of girl, and then as a result, everyone's going to like the group overall. One thing I've always said is a rule is whichever the girl is who has to do the awkward rapping is always the worst looking one because her skill only has to be rapping. Like normally the other ones are just like straight fire, look amazing, like great blonde, brunette, and then some girl comes out and you can always tell the one who's going to rap because she's the one who just looks like awkwardly in the group. And then she's coming out, yeah, my God, yeah. It's like, that's the one that you know is going to go fucking ham. So anyway, that was it. Have you fixed the camera yet? I thought it was pretty good.
No, the cameras are done. Cameras are done.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to go.
Okay.
So
we were talking about KT.
yeah.
Yes.
So
the question was, I think you didn't get the question, unfortunately. I'll do a short version because obviously he'll edit the question to be in anyway. Basically, I would have thought from the outside that it was the other way around and that KT basically decided like we're going to get BDD and so UCAL had to leave and then Africa was one of the best teams available so he went to them. Is this just speculation on your part like I'm speculating or was there inside information that or even public information that says it was actually the other way around, UCAL chose to leave?
So UCAL recently did an interview with Inbin Global, and I know that there is a whole meme about what Koreans say isn't exactly what they think, but I'm just gonna quote what UCAL said there. He actually said that he wanted to leave KT and like actively look for especially look into Africa because he really liked Africa's coaching style.
Okay.
What is he gonna say? I got kicked from KT, so I had to go find my best option, and it was Africa. Of course he's gonna say, I really...
The voice is so much more hilarious when Loco has that deep voice, isn't it? It sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Wait, is my voice different still?
Number one,
I don't know why. Just keep going.
Okay.
Number one, that's me quoting UCAL. Number two, I am aware that I can't predict what UCAL is actually thinking. But number three, just looking at KT's roster and stuff, I think it's more likely that UCAL wanted to leave KT than KT wanted to keep UCAL. But that's me. That's just my speculation.
Okay. Because I'm kind of with Loco on that one. Like, I know when people look at summer split of last year, they're going to say UCAL was better and they're going to think, they're going to do the classic move that they do, for example, with Whippo and Soaz, where they say, yes, but with Whippo, you get all these years of a top player and he can play so much longer. Whereas my logic is always the other way around. It's like, I've only seen 1 year of him be really good, though. Like, I have no guarantee he's going to be good for the next 3 years. Like, I know he's young. There's no guarantee he'll be an amazing player for 4 years. I know how good Soaz is many years back. So I have the same logic with BDD. I've seen BDD play well for like a year and a half now. He's a pretty good player generally. And I personally, if I had to bet outside of a specific meta, I'd pick BDD all day over UCAL. Like, I think that's more guaranteed. So maybe we just have a different perspective on the Korean scene there.
Also, like, what is this obsession with, like, youth? Like, how old is BDD? Like, BDD's what, like 19, 20, 21? Like,
exactly.
BDD's also extremely, extremely young. So I don't think it matters that much, like, that UCAL is like 17 or 18 or whatever. Like, also, like, when you're 17 and 18, like, you're not at your prime, dude. Like, you're still very, very young and you have so much to learn. I would much rather have BDD.
I will reiterate that, like, I do think BDD is a better player than UCAL at the moment. I just don't agree that, UCAL... BDD is a major upgrade to UCAL. I still do agree with you that BDD is better than UCAL, yeah.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, obviously we'll get to this when we talk about Africa, but one thing I am interested in of UCAL leaving, well, maybe I'll save that actually. Let's keep it on KT. So I'll give my thoughts on KT briefly, which is that when I heard they did this move, where the initial leak was, it'll just be Smeb that they're keeping, and maybe every single other member of the team gets changed, like, that had me a little bit worried, but I also figured, like, maybe I'm wrong in terms of the money in this sense, Local. I actually thought that meant that they were going to go ham with money and that they were going to say, fuck it, let's get more superstars in, but let's get, like, a new set of superstars and we'll build it around Smeb. But in terms of the people they kept, like, bear in mind, we are talking about a team where we have no idea who the AD carry is. Like, we can't be 100% on with our predictions here. But from the players they did get, I think they did an amazing job because, like, people will say, if let's say they had the option to keep Deft, I don't know if Deft chose to leave or they kept the option to keep. I would suspect he did choose to leave because if the story about some of the other players is that they want to get paid more, maybe he was the player Kingzone was willing to make their franchise play. I could believe that. But what I'll say is this: after seeing 2 years of that KT roster lineup, one thing that was abundantly clear to me is you cannot have Smeb and Deft in a team and expect to be the best team in the world.
Remember I told you this?
Sure. I never said it was wrong, mate. Like, yeah, but the problem is, the problem with this is, first of all, it's not that you can't have them because they're their players. It's because they're on opposite sides of the map. So you can't be playing through top lane and bottom lane simultaneously. In fact, think about this. go through the history of League of Legends and try and pick an all-time great team where the best players was top laner and AD carry. It almost never existed.
Yeah.
Almost never was the case. And so part of the reason why I'm glad that they made it Deft that went, because in my opinion, you could have done either way. You could have picked one or the other, right? You could have said, we'll go with Deft still, or we'll pick Smeb. The reason why I like picking Smeb is because Smeb still played really well in this KT roster lineup, even though actually a lot of the time they did not play through him. They actually kind of didn't use his skills. And since we know he is a fucking amazing player, like I actually legit think Smeb's like a top 3 player to ever play League of Legends. I'm glad that now he gets to have a team built around him. If you look at this team, since the AD carry is the last person to join, it probably isn't going to be a super famous person. They're not going to just play through bot lane. BDD already as a mid laner was a guy who could just like hold mid lane and just play his lane out really well. And now we actually get to for real see what happens when Score just services Smeb 24/7, like fucking Watch with Mac Noon back in the day. So I'm waiting for Score to become the third summoner spell of Smeb, and then Smeb's just going to take over this motherfucking game, baby. Hype.
I do think KT is going to end up that way, where they get a new AD and he's going to be like not very, I guess, relied upon, and it's more so going to be about Smeb. So yeah, I mean, that's how KT's looking. Let's move on to another team. Give us one.
Okay. Well, how about this then? We'll keep the connection for now. Let's talk about the Afrika Freaks lineup, because they're another team that had a whole bunch of players leave. Some of them bizarrely, like probably the weirdest one was Mowgli, who was at times their backup jungler and then at times their starter towards the end of the year, left, didn't even go to NA. He went to EU and joined Vitality, which wasn't even particularly like one of the stacked rosters. Went to Vitality, presumably for money or the experience. And they retained Keen, Spirit, who else? Aiming, who technically was the backup AD carry, but did play in the spring, if you remember. And he got suspended, unfortunately. He did show some promise, actually, but obviously Krim was the main one. They lost Tusin, who arguably was the best player of the year, and Kuro is no longer in the team. So Afrika Freaks, I think, is a bit of a mixed bag. But obviously now we can address UCAL coming to their team. So I'll start it off, actually, because I just want to put this out there now. One of the things I'm really excited about with this team, even though I think the actual lineup is very mixed, I could see it being good, but I don't think it's going to be the best. One thing I'm really excited about is now we will find out if people like you, LS, were overrating UCAL. Because the problem I had with UCAL is I actually can't know how good he was in KT roster, because he came into a team full of mega star names, all of whom were already really good players, all of whom know how they want to play. And his job was don't be pawn. Like his job was pick a Zay and just don't lose CS and wait and let us win the game. And then his job was, you know how Paul would just randomly flash in and die? Just don't press the F key. Just stay back and let us do it. So here's the thing. He did that job really well. He was nailing it completely. But my problem is I don't know if he is a supportive type of mid laner or if he's a star mid laner. Because the way LS talked him up from mechanics and stuff, he made it sound like the guy was going to be like the next rookie. Whereas in this team, I think we'll actually find out if he's going to be a superstar player. Because in this team, he should be taken over. They should be building the game around him if he's that sort of player. They don't have the talent in this team necessarily where he's going to be that like what he was in KT. So I'm very interested to see whether that happens or whether I'm pulling a Loco 5 minutes ago. Like I told you, I said that 1 year ago. See, look at the video evidence. Did you just put your hand up, Ashley?
No, I'm just like...
Right, okay, because you don't have to ask, it's class now. You don't have to ask permission to talk or anything. Like, please follow me. I know all about you, Carl. Please, go on.
Ashley, go.
So one of my earphones really does it right now, and I have to keep reconnected and plug it back in because it tries to fall out. It's getting a bit annoying, but
all right.
So yeah, it's a good point that UCAL was in a team where he was the youngest player in the team by far, and now he's going into a team where it's a mixed bag of rookies as well as veterans, because Spirit is the oldest team there at the moment. So we will see how UCAL plays there and whether he picks big steps into more of a leadership role. I think it's so good that Afrika Freaks has retained Keen. I think that's such a huge thing.
Yes.
For me, I think Keen was the best player in Afrika Freaks in 2018. So it's amazing that they kept Keen. And Spirit. Spirit's an interesting one. Spirit is such a flexible, diverse player. He doesn't have a super carry potential or isn't as reliable as Score, but I think he's a decent jungler. So I'm also glad that they kept Spirit. So UCAL, I already mentioned that I think Yuka has a potential to become one of the best mid laners for a while in Korea. So in bot lane, we lost Kramer and Tucson, and we have Aiming, who has been the sub player for Kramer, and Jolly. So I don't have any opinion on Jolly because I haven't seen him play. He was a support player, and I think he's going to become the starting support player now. Aiming, I think he has a high ceiling, and he's a very mechanically gifted player. It's just that especially in the spring and summer season, he does get nerfs to overcome him, and we've seen him play just like a flash into the enemy lanes and just die instantly, especially in the later games. So he's a young player, so I'll be interested to see how Aiming and Jolly mature. But I think Africa also has a solid team because they kept Keen and they kept Spirit and they brought Yuka in, who I think might be an upgrade to Kuro personally. That's me.
Wait a minute. Can I just, I want to just push back on one thing. Like, I'm with you that Keen was a very good player. Like, I thought he was like one of the revelations of 2018. You know how he played, and he was very, very good in Africa. And by the time he got to Worlds, he did look like one of the best top laners. But you thought he was better than Tucson in the Africa team?
Yes.
Okay. Because my problem with Keen is I can't delete Worlds from my brain. And listen, the guy was dynamite with domestically. When he got to Worlds, it looked like he was fucking double lift. He was like, give me all the resources. I will play well for half of the tournament and then make 4 key mistakes that throw the whole game.
All right, counterpoints to that. I think Keen were put on like a lot of bad picks a lot of times, like random ass Scion picks, random ass Gangplank picks all of a sudden, and I'm not sure if he asked for it or if the coach pushed that onto him, but a lot of times Keen wasn't in a position to succeed. And it's not like Tucson did well at Worlds either. Tucson played like Garbo too. So I actually agree with Sashi. I do think Keen was the best player for Africa for 2018, but Tucson is definitely my second, and you can have the argument for either way around, but I would still stick with Keen.
All I'm going to say is this, Loco. If you've ever called a girl using a voice changer anonymously, like you're in trouble right now, mate. You're going to get identified and you're going to jail because your voice is low again, mate. It's like gone deep again.
Really?
You sound like you used a voice changer, like stay in the house.
For me, Loco's voice isn't changing at all. It's fine. So I wonder.
Maybe I'm lagging then.
Yeah.
Oh,
so maybe enough. I wonder what Loco's voice sounds like to the chat, like to the viewers. And Loco, maybe you want to ask.
Right, I can't believe she's done this, Loco. Of all the things I would tell women who come on esports talk shows, don't engage with Twitch chat directly. Let them know you're reading it, and then ask them to tell you things. Like, this could go so badly in so many ways. Like, just tell them if the sound sounds good, please. Keep it safe. Keep it safe. Keep it PG. I'll do all the edgy stuff. I'll handle it.
Ashley's a big girl. She's, what is it, older?
That's pretty rude. You know, I'm sure she's doing what she can. You know, she's working a full-time job. Come on, fucking hell, man. I know you Asians are really superficial with your beauty standards, but I think she's all right. There's no need to go so crazy. Anyway, let's get back to the episode. Oh
my God.
Right. Here's the thing I have with that is, I'm kind of with you that like there's some good pieces in this team. I know this is actually the team, by the way, who sadly because of Worlds, all Westerners are going to write off and won't realize how good Africa Freaks actually was during the whole year. Like they were very legit in the spring, and then in the summer, okay, Katie got better, Griffin came. They were still a really good team, though. They were still one of the better teams out there, and obviously proved actually domestically in Korea to be a really good playoff team. That's why it was so shocking to me how bad they were at Worlds in playoffs. So I will say, the pieces they've kept, they should still be a good team. And even if you don't know these names so well and you haven't seen them play well, expect more. Like, for example, the aiming one's a really good one. That would be a really good tip if you've never seen LCK for someone who could become one of the best AD carries in the world. That's not an exaggeration. Like, he's a very, very good player, potentially. But I have to say, if Africa really were in a position where they convinced UCAL to join them, I'm shocked that he would join this team. Because he has just left the number 1 team in Korea, and I do not think this Africa Freak team is going to be a number 1 team in Korea. And I don't even think this lineup is number 1. Disagree?
Like, I know that I'm going off a bit of a tangent, but I think
we love to do it. Do it. Did you see that part where I was like talking about Korean rap and stuff? Go for tangents. We love that shit.
Another big loss that Africa had that people may overlook is they lost Jeffa.
Yeah, Jeffa's a hella good coach.
Yeah.
Jeffa, yes.
Jeffa was the coach for Africa Freaks. I personally believe that he was one of the best drafting coaches in Korea, and currently he is going to SKT, and I think having Jeffa there was one of the reasons that Africa was able to play so versatile, try different strategy, come up with all the picker picks, and it will potentially hurt Africa that they have lost Jeffa, and they may lose some of their flexible versatility that we've seen throughout spring and summer. So I think it's also a relief for Africa that they just announced no fair into the coaching staff, and he's a good replacement for Jeffa. So I just wanted to mention that.
Usually, don't go from a great coach to another great coach. It usually goes, you get a great coach in Locodoco, and then you get Young Buck or something, or not Young Buck, who is it? Woodbuck. You get Woodbuck. But
it's the way he did the Freudian slip of actually instantly naming someone massively more successful and better as a coach than him. So, well, fair enough. And not only that, he even picked someone whose main strength as a coach, as far as we know, was like man management, like giving people a winning mentality. Everything Loco didn't have. Obviously, that was the Freudian slip of who Loco wishes he was, Young Buck. Instead, he's Woodbuck. That was his name, Casey Woodbuck. It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
Anyways,
he's a guy who used to be a pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Problem is, though, being a pitcher, you wear your arm out eventually. You don't know anything about that, right?
Wear your arm.
Don't worry about it. Loco doesn't get half the jokes,
And your jokes are fucking stupid. That's why, Doran.
Whatever.
Whatever. Oh my god.
Whatever, bro.
Anyway,
back
you've
to
been
the
hosting
original
for
point,
15 years, and these are your jokes. Holy shit. Anyways, back to my original point is,
yes,
a lot of people might be like, oh, Ashley, how do you know which coaches are good? How can you say Jeffa is good? How can you say Nofe is good? I talked to both. I worked with both. I know both of them are good. But also, Jeffa was the Korean strategy representative for Asian Games. So a lot of Koreans thought he was really good as a coach. So definitely a really good pickup for SAT, and kind of shitty that Africa lost him.
Also, by the way, if you even think about Zephyr's career when he played for Najin Shield, it makes absolute sense this guy would be a really good coach. It's actually a famous trend in, not in esports as much because there haven't been as many players, but to be fair, in esports it applies as well, that star players in sports and team games do very badly as coaches because part of their problem is, they literally do go to people and go, yeah, just take over the game. It's like, how the fuck do I do that? Just be the best player. It's like, you can't coach that. You weren't coached in that way. So if you notice, the best players turned coaches in any sport or team game are always the people who are either middling players or even sometimes not very good players, but who made themselves a competent pro. Zephyr is the picture perfect example of that, because when he was in Najin Shield, he wasn't even close to a top AD carry in the world. But I tell you what, he was very rarely a liability in their team. And he used to do his job very, very well from that position, which in theory is supposed to be a mechanical position, but he was actually a very legit player. So if he had the sort of reflection and wherewithal to understand he isn't the best player and how to fit with other people and how to make other people, that sounds like perfect starting place to become a coach. Whereas if you were some sort of big ego AD carry who just flunked a massive fight and fucked up another team called Startail, who later on became an amazing squad called Katie Rolster, then went and played support and fucked up Nunu because you couldn't even play the most basic shit champ in the game, and then just got carried by Bjergsen all the titles. He's probably not ideal to be a coach.
Carried by Bjergsen? They were losing to Cloud9! That was a fucking competitive league. You call me fucking psycho for guessing TSM would finish first, and then you had the audacity to say carried by Bjergsen. You had the fucking audacity to say. Cut the Western shit, Doran.
Yes. I wish I had the Audacity. I'd take Audacity, the fucking sound program, put your voice in it and raise your voice 2 octaves and you'd sound normal. Anyway, whatever. Let's go back into that topic anyway, because we were talking about Africa Freaks. And the other angle that I think is a great one for this one, Ashley, is obviously they've gotten Zephyr, so hopefully Pick Band's going to be great. I mean, again, forget Worlds quarterfinals. I know that was a train wreck, but forget that. Remember the rest of the year, it was great. And they can now couple him with I Love Uv, who, if anything, was the opposite. He was renowned for crazy strategies, off-the-wall moves, interesting practicing. If you put the two together, that sounds like an amazing coaching staff, actually. A very, probably underrated by Westerners, but a sick coaching staff, actually. When you consider, as you said, Loco, the coaching quality in Korea at the moment, it's not considered that crazy, actually. There's not many people anyone's saying a genius, really, in the LCK at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was that a question?
No. I just like to make here's the thing. I just make large statements, and then Loco disagrees with me. So I was waiting for the hit,
That was my opinion.
Great point, Thor. Yeah, there we go. That's Loco's version of agreeing with you. Listen to the narcissism. He goes, "Yeah, I agree because that was my opinion." And someone
said it. Oh my fuck. Next team.
There we go.
Next
Willow
team.
Smith is back. Willow Smith is back.
Next
Anytime
team.
he does the Willow Smith, he is absolutely triggered as fuck. Right, Ashley, just stay with it. Don't worry. As soon as you see a Willow Smith, all I'm gonna say is he did 3 Willow Smiths in a row. He whipped his hair back and forth like an absolute motherfucker. So let's go on to a team who've whipped their lineup back and forth, and that is SK Telecom.
Okay.
Everyone is hyping this lineup. Are you as hyped for this one, Ashley? Is this the team that's going to do it?
Oh, like I am actually really, really hyped, and I can't wait for Casper Cup, which is like the Korean off-season cup that's not related to like Riot, if anyone didn't know. So I'm super hyped for SKT. Like, so back in 2017, you know, SKT had a like underwhelming, even though like they went all the way to finals in Worlds. So I don't know whether underwhelming is the right choice of word here. So
They looked bad at the end.
yeah, so like, you know, and they didn't make that many roster changes, but this time they pretty much changed everyone except Faker. And not only did they change up the roster, they brought in all the different star players from every other different single team. They got Kang, who is still hyped up as like pretty much
Second
the best. Yeah, like might be the best aggressive, like hyper aggressive top laner in Korea. That is super cool. Khalid was one of the more hotly contested junglers. Yeah, junglers in free agency, and they also got Haru as a backup, who was also a great aggressive player. Obviously mid lane Faker, no introduction needed. On the bot lane, they got Teddy, and that is really interesting because Teddy was the AD carry for Junior Green Wings, and even though Junior Green Wings was one of the lower like performing teams in LCK, everyone was just praising Teddy as the best AD carry, like one of the most best AD carries in Korea. He is like super clutch, can be hyper carry as well as like be consistent. He is the main character, so he's the main hero in that famous SKT versus Junior Green Wings 94-minute game where he pretty much like, you know, got like 1,400 CS and never faltered, managed to like, you know, reverse sweep the game. So super hyped about Teddy, and they got Mara, and I already talked about Mara. I think Mara is a great support player, as well as he's got the shot calling potential, even though Loco, like, you know, went on about the shot calling in Korea quite a bit. So
Don't feel obliged to agree with Loco.
If
not a theme of the show.
if I make logical sense, you can agree with me. But if you
Yeah,
want to be
that's true.
controversial,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you can
No,
disagree.
Listen, every now and then you say things that I agree with, Loco. Like when you told me that I'm really fucking great and it'd be an honor to do a
When?
show with me. And,
What?
you know, like,
Stop making
you're willing
bullshit. Oh my god.
Keep going, Ashley. Yeah, keep going.
Doran, you're
Yeah.
so delusional.
So like, I do think I still rate Mara's shot calling abilities pretty high. So I don't know how much SKT spent, but this is a one stacked lineup. And the only thing I'm a bit worried about is all the players are like star players who also have very strong personality. Khan obviously has a very strong personality. Faker seems to have a very specific way in how he wants the game played. He likes the jungler to look after the mid lane a lot. And Teddy, back in Junior, also was a player who could carry but demanded a lot of resource to himself in order to carry. And Mara, like, you know, he also has a very strong personality. So I'll be interested to see whether they can come together as a team, because on paper, this is like a world's winning team straight away. If this was like a football management game where, Faker's 95 and like Khan is 92 and Teddy is like, you know, 90, and you just add up all the numbers together, this is straight up world's winning team, I think. But can all this really different, very strong colors and pieces come together harmoniously? That's my question. But, yeah,
Okay.
I'm super
I like this. I like the idea you did there with sort of like a rating system to give people the idea. The problem is, I know you were
it's
just
not
throwing
that,
out a hype. Yeah, I know you were throwing out like a hypothetical number, but the problem is, if we really were doing a rating system, there's no way Khan's like a 92 or whatever, or 89 or something. Like, say the system's like the traditional system that sexist people use to rate women and their looks, okay, when they're out, okay, so it'd be out of 10. If Faker's a 9 or a 10, because obviously it's Faker, I mean, come on, man. Like, in terms of a player, then Khan is like, he's that 7 that if he's in the club and the lights are just right and the right song's playing, he looks fucking amazing. You're like, oh, he's the hottest person in here. Problem is, you better keep that same song playing, which is just carries top lane, give him all the resources top lane, jungle attention, safe bot lane. Because the problem is, if you get that 7 home and then in the morning you wake up and her makeup's all over the pillow and that face turns around and look at you, you might regret that rating. You might realize that's not a 9. That is, you overvalued that. And also, you bought way too many margaritas that night.
Is that your personal story from this weekend?
Listen, I don't have a problem helping people out there explore their sexuality, learn about themselves, and transcend the duality of the different genders and become one at a higher level. Is that not how it is for you, Loco, when you go out? So.
Well, no, I just try to have a good time with my friends. I don't try to...
Yeah, friend zoned. I forgot about it. Yeah, you just play a sick game of Mario Party and you go, yay, I won, girls. Now who's up for the next sleepover? Let's get Titanic on. Or is it... No, wait, I won. It's Love Actually next. Like... Anyway.
You say friend zone. You say friend zone, but one time in LA we'll hang out and then you'll see.
Did he just imply he's going to fuck me in LA? What the fuck?
Oh my God!
It's so outrageous. That's very inappropriate, Loco.
Oh.
We work together. I don't appreciate that behaviour, quite frankly. Anyway, reeling it back in.
I want to kill you. Oh my.
Reel it back in. Reel it back in. What is your thoughts about SK Telecom, though? Loco, what are your thoughts about SK Telecom?
I think they actually put together a great roster. I do agree with Ashley that they have a lot of hype pieces that might not work well together. I actually... I'm going to say a bold statement, but I'm not sure how much I want to stick by this.
Come on. They're going to win Worlds.
No, not they're going to win Worlds. That at the end of the year, it won't be the same 5 players on the starting roster. And it will be, like, probably not Faker, but one of the other of the 4, like Clid, not Clid, Haru, Crazy, Leo, or Effort will be on the starting roster. Because I think...
What's the reason for giving this prediction? It's a pretty wild prediction, right?
Yeah, I think... I'm not sure how the 5 of them are going to work so well together. There's definitely going to be tumultuous moments, and they're definitely going to have their own voices. So it's going to be, yeah, kind of really, I don't think that easy to work out with all 5. It's not a prediction I want to make right now because we haven't even seen them play. Maybe they'll get along, but yeah, like a lot of cooks.
It's just something you're waiting for as like a potential concern.
Yeah, a lot of cook in the kitchen. I will say, I'm super surprised Haru joined because one thing Haru said was...
Loco knows his cooks. Keep going.
One thing that Haru said was, I was really stressed out on Gen G because of the constant competing for a starter spot. Next team I want to be in, I hope I don't have to compete for a starter spot. And then he went to SKT and then he's behind Clid, so I'm like, okay, dude.
Yes. The one concern I have with this team, is I'll make it quick, is I actually think every position is amazing. Like I know, for example, some people won't know who Clid is if they didn't watch the LPL because he didn't make Worlds. He was an amazing jungler in the LPL. Like he was legit straight up carry jungler. It was really, really sick stuff. The only position that is a concern for me is Kang. That's why I made that joke before. Like I think he could completely kill this whole team if he plays like shit. And if you notice his position, who are they going to bring in? Like, they haven't got a really good, competent sub for Khan. So, as a result, they've gambled at... he's pretty decent. He's okay, I guess. He was on a bad team, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt on that team. He's not what they think Khan is going to be, put it that way. Like, you don't want to have to be fielding that guy. So, my problem with this team is the rest of the map's all great, but I could see a world in which, like, bad meta or the dynamic doesn't work, and if Khan shits the bed, that's my one concern.
So I do think Khan has high ceiling, and we often compare Deshai to Khan. And like in a Mary, when Khan is allowed to play carry champions and just like pick like Jace or like Fiora or Riven all the time, like if Riven ever comes back to meta, like Khan will be killing every single top lane. And I do think that Crazy is a decent top laner who's maybe not as aggressive as Khan, but given that other lanes in SKT's current lineup, Faker, like even Haru and Clid and Teddy have a big carry potential. Even when Crazy subs in, it wouldn't be too much of a lag because like other lanes can just carry. So
it makes it more balanced in that sense, right?
Yeah, it makes it more balanced. And I'm not sure whether Clid or Haru is going to be a starter at the moment, but I just think that it's good that whichever way they go, they have another solid jungler to back the main jungler up. So I think SKT made a good choice there too.
They killed it in the off season.
Fair enough. And by the way, just as a side note for anyone who's wondering, like there is another way that could work out, which is if you can play carries in the top lane, even though Teddy was a very dominant AD carry, he doesn't have to have all the resources put through him. I mean, first of all, as AD carry, you don't have to have all the early resources anyway. You can just stay alive and get to the 20-minute mark and then do your job. So actually, if you saw him in Jin Air, sure, on the ridiculous games like the one you were mentioning, where like 1 billion hours long, yeah, at that point, an AD carry has all the gold in the world. If it's your best player, he's going to be the most farmed up. But I actually saw a lot of games where it didn't even look like they always gave Teddy all the resources. It's not like he was like double lifting Team Liquid and like the whole team was based around he had to win. It's just the reason he looked so good is the rest of the team was quite bad at times, you know, and as a squad, they had like no mid laner basically. So as a squad, he kind of just had to carry. He did it out of force. It's not like he demanded it like Uzi Eye style. So I could see a world in which, as you know, a guy who's coming in hasn't had success in certain games or metas, he'd be willing to give it up and just be a team player, you know, and be the best sort of like overqualified clean-up AD carry, as it were. See, this is why I don't make good points, because then people just nod politely and say, yeah, I agree. It's better when they go, you idiot, you don't know what you're talking about.
Not everything has to be an argument. Why do you want to make everything an argument, Warren?
I just want it to be fire.
I try not to like go into every single conversation, because like if I start talking about LCK, I can go on for hours.
You should go. Like, no, you should go.
Well, the last thing we'd want, Ashley, is for you to talk to us about the LCK for hours and make all these conversations really interesting. So don't do that whatever you do. Just stick to answering the questions we ask in a very polite manner.
Like, Ashley, you can talk about whatever the fuck you want. Like, honestly, like we want our guests to speak up a lot. I was actually kind of disappointed at Gilius last time we had him on, because I thought Gilius would be really fire, like speak a lot. But
shall I tell you something unfortunate? It wasn't just that episode, mate. I've actually had him on like Narrative Wake. And here's the sad thing. He's one of those guys where this is why you never overrate people based on a segment after a game where they know they've won the game and they're going to the desk and they wait 10 minutes while the casters wrap up and the break comes on, or while they're tweeting. Because in both those scenarios, they have time to think of what they want to say. Like, if you have time to think of what you want to say and backspace it and go, should I phrase it that way? Yeah, everyone could sound like a fucking genius in that scenario, you know. But coming up with stuff on the spot that's good, and especially like great comments, that's pretty hard, you know. Like that's kind of tough, you know. Okay. So what I would say is this: let's go to the other side of this, which is we'll actually, before we leave the SK Telecom topic, here's the question, and this is the blasphemous question, Ashley. Are you ready? Be very careful what you say right now. Like, everyone in the world could give excuses for Faker last year, even though I actually do think he had some periods where he actually looked pretty bad himself. You know, I don't know whether that was pressure or the fact he had to try and help a team that had no business getting anywhere, even make the playoffs. But now that he has all this talent around him and that SK Telecom has clearly spent money and they've clearly like built the whole team around him again, Faker basically has to not just be good, probably be the best player in the world again, otherwise people are going to criticize him, and SK Telecom probably has to win if you think about their context. So here's the real question. Do both those things happen?
So what if, is your question like, what if Faker doesn't win?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a tough one. Like, so I actually agree with you. Like last year, like, you know, Faker looked a bit stressed out. Like there was a meme about where he often recalled in the dangerous moments and he would get caught out, and people would point out to his attention, like, you know, hey, is Faker's attention, like, you know, span dropping or something like that. But I still think Faker's a really great player. I do think SKT does see Faker as, okay, he is our franchise hero. We have built a team around him, and now Faker has to win. And if SKT doesn't win again, and it's not because of the team falling around him, and because Faker, and it's because Faker doesn't perform, I'm not sure. Like, that's a very interesting question. Like, but it doesn't still change the fact that Faker was and has been the greatest player in League of Legends scene for a while. But but we'll see. I'll have to see. There are so many different factors to it. Like, you know, is it because of the team chemistry? Is it because of the Faker sync? But I don't really see a scenario in world, and I really can't visualize where Faker suddenly starts underperforming, like overall. Like even in 2018, like I don't think that Faker was underperforming as a whole and was just being lax. It almost felt like his playstyle didn't suit the current team he was in, and he was put under a lot of stress. Like, in to be in head up CS all the time, to have some kind of calling responsibility. So I actually still do think that Faker is mid laner despite the performance of 2018 in SKT, and how I rate him at the end of 2019. I'll have to see. I'll have to see how the overall team plays out.
Okay. What do you think on this one, Loco?
I mean, if Faker does badly, I still don't see a world where SKT lets him go, but it might be the year that Korea turns on Faker, because I think there's a lot riding on SKT this year or in 2019, and I think Korean fans are super happy about SKT's offseason, and especially the SKT fans. And I think initially they'll blame other pieces around Faker, but if Faker does underperform, like I do think Faker will stop Korea's golden boy, and maybe we shift over to Griffin, or maybe we shift over to BDD and KT. But if Faker doesn't do well this year, I think it's going to be a big shift in fan bases. That's something that could potentially happen, because Faker's still by far the most popular player in Korea, and SKT is still by far the most popular team. But if they don't do well in 2019 after the disaster that was 2018, and new 2019 go on to beat LPL teams in Rift Rivals, MSI, and at Worlds, then yeah, like SKT is going to lose their spot as the favorite.
Okay. Because the reason why, listen, I know Western fans, again, will just assume like, oh, give Faker a break, etc. But first of all, as we alluded to before, Koreans have incredibly high demands and expectations. And when you already set their expectations basically as high as they can go, like I'm going to win LCK and Worlds, anything else is going to be considered failure. So then when you add in the context of these amazing players, I think the extra dangerous part for Faker is these aren't even players where it's not like he got back, someday to come back to Korea and he got Arrow or something like that. And it's like, hey, maybe these guys could be good in LCK again. He got players who last year were all amazing at their roles. So actually, in theory, Faker's the one who has to improve his level this year compared to his teammates now. Like, it's actually a lot of pressure on him in this squad. But as I said in some past episodes, like when I was telling you that one about TSM always complain about pressure, you should want the pressure if you Faker. Like you want the team where it's like, I should win. Great, that's exactly the position to be in if you're the best player ever, right? Good, give me the team to win and I'll go do it. So I'm certainly excited for this one. Like I actually think, aside from the Khan factor, if he somehow fucks it up, like I actually think this team's amazing. Like I think this looks like if I had to bet money, I would say this team wins LCK. That would be my pick.
Would you take them over some of the Chinese teams?
Yes, because unfortunately, like here's the problem. RNG obviously could be amazing. Like I still think like people have, unfortunately, because of Worlds, people have acted like RNG fell off. I think they just had one bad series. Like I think that's an amazing team. But for example, teams like IG, I think IG just benefited from the meta, mate. I don't think that they're going to be good the next time they play anyway. So I would assume SK Telecom goes right back up the world rankings and becomes a very, very good team. Right, what about, how about we do this? Out of politeness, we'll let you pick the next team, Ashley. Who do you think we should talk about next in the LCK? So you can go anywhere. You can fuck Loco completely. He said he doesn't even watch LCK. You can pick like some garbage team he doesn't watch, or you can pick a really good team. Which will you choose? Mercy or, I don't know, whatever the opposite of Mercy is, being an arsehole, I don't know.
Mercy or Thorin?
Exactly.
I'm just going to go with like the line of thinking in my own head, because we talked about SKT having all the star players, but we are thinking of the potential teamwork of the team. I'm going to go with the other extreme, and I'm going to go with Griffin. Because Griffin almost feels like an antithesis of what SKT has built. Like, all the players in that team are rookies, and I think most of the players in that team have started their career in Griffin. Like, they're still 17, 18, 19, but Griffin is known for their team, known for their teamwork, known for their team fight. Their team logo is, 5S1, and I think that explains their team color perfectly. Griffin has the best 5v5 team fight in the world. And I don't know, I actually want to fire it back to Loco now. So compared to SKT, who swapped around every single player except Baker, Griffin was so chill during off season. I think it's true that they have all their players signed up to 2020, and while all other teams in LCK were running around trying to secure players. They went to a fucking, workshop in Phuket for 4 days, and they were so chill, and they maintained all their roster. Sword in the top lane, Tarzan in the jungle, Chobi mid lane, Viper, Lehins in the bot lane, and I think they have an extra support player right now. But what do you think about that decision, Loco?
What, to not change
the decision-
anyone?
Yeah, to not add anyone. I'm assuming to the main roster.
Okay.
And
They'll pick up.
how do you think that Griffin's gonna do?
Okay, I think Griffin's gonna pick up subs in all their roles. They're trying to. They're reaching out to players actively to find subs, and I think they're gonna do pretty well. Like, I love Griffin. Griffin is anti-Korea. Like, Griffin is everything that Korea is not. Like, Griffin is aggressive. Griffin is innovative. Griffin is willing to try new things. Like, Griffin coaches in a very different way than Korea. So Griffin is very anti-Korea. I love Viper. I think Viper is my favorite AD carry at the moment. He's so damn good, and he's good on other champions too. And he's very, very aggressive. Like, so Korea used to have like these aggressive AD carries and Piglet and Imp, and then the line of AD carries that followed after that with like Deft and Bang were a little bit more on the safe
Prey
side.
even.
Yeah, Prey even.
When he came back.
Yeah. And then with the addition of Teddy being like a superstar, and then Viper coming in as another superstar AD carry, like, Korea's starting to get its teeth back as AD carry. Like, man, Viper is fucking insane. Like, whenever I watch Viper montages, like, usually when I watch AD carry montages, it's more so about their positioning and like timing something. Viper's about like aggression and like the timings he's going in. It's just very unique way to play AD carry done at the absolute highest level. So Viper's my favorite player to watch on Griffin. I love Chobi also. I think Chobi's also amazing mid lane talent, and Korea has been lacking a lot of these like aggressive mid lane talent. Like, yeah, it's like there was like Kuro, Iji-hoon, and then there's now like BDD and Chobi. So yeah, I love watching Griffin. Griffin's one of my favorite
By the
teams
way,
to watch.
you alluded to this earlier, so maybe we can address this now. But Griffin basically got funding, right? Because that was the thing, is after I assumed, since they were just a team that came out of nowhere, came to challenger and did so well, that they would just get torn apart in this offseason. Like, one player would go this way, this way, this way, this way. Maybe somebody even go to China. But they actually they didn't just stay together because they're best pals like Rocks Tigers. They really they had the money to pay these guys.
Well, they got bought up by Kang, right? That was the report.
And according to the players database, when Griffin signed this current roster, they signed every single player until 2020.
Ooh.
That's another thing
right.
to consider.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing to consider.
No, man.
Okay.
I think Griffin's gonna be great for a long time. I think Viper and Chobi are just amazing.
Here's my
backbone.
problem though, Loco, is like, because the team were rookies, and so if you're rookies, I know they did amazingly in Challenger, but if you're rookies, people don't expect you to do well. And they not only did well, like, they were already competing with Katie, Roll State, etc. in the regular split, but then obviously in the playoffs, they went way further than a bunch of really good teams. They almost won the fucking LCK. Like, they really could have won that game 5 and won the whole title. Sure, didn't get to go to Worlds. Maybe that's the one failing they had. The downside is, because I'd agree with you, by the way, because of the innovative strategies, and especially because they were so good in team fights, I do think that people overrated the players, though. Like, some of the players are amazing. I think, like, for example, I think like Sword and Lehens were like, they're just average players. Like, there's nothing special at all about them. I'd agree with you. Viper was amazing in the playoffs. Chovy was pretty good. Tarzan was actually a very good jungler as well, at least in the whatever that weird meta was last year. Those players look legit. I don't know what the future of the other players is, but then again, they've got synergy. They've kept it together. I can give them that. But anyone who thought that like this was like, the best example would be when SK Telecom came along in season 3 and all 5 of them were being called the best players at their position. There's no way these have the best 5 players at their position.
I think Viper, you can make an argument for being the best AD.
And Tarzan.
Yeah.
Tarzan. I think he is like I think he's up there along with Score as the best jungler in LCK at the moment. I honestly believe that, and it is so crazy because I personally believe that jungler is one position where experience matters the most, because you have to know about all the different aspects of the game. Like you have to know about the vision control. You have to bit of mechanics. You have to know what makes a laner, a top laner, mid laner, bot laner comfortable and uncomfortable. So there's a lot of pieces to being a jungler. I don't know, someone correct me on this, but Tarzan and then came out of nowhere like this 18 years old fucking rookie who's good at every aspect of jungling, and it just blows my mind that this player appeared out of nowhere in LCK. I just wanted to give shout out to Tarzan because I think he's an amazing player.
Yeah, I think Viper, Tarzan, Chovy are definitely legit, and there are questions about Leon and Sword, so we'll see. But yeah, Griffin is a killer team, and super excited that they got funding. And yeah, also CV Max is a great coach. CV Max, I'm not sure if a lot of you guys know, but he used to play in Korean solo queue for such a long time, and he used to be known for playing Wukong top and Wukong jungle. Like, he's been playing since I was playing, because I remember getting him in my game. This guy just used to be a massive troll. Like, so it's crazy watching him coach, because he was a Wukong one trick that would just troll all the time, and I hated getting him in my games.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, that was one of the things that team also was interested about last year, is like they actually were willing to make all these like crazy meta picks that like no one else was doing, but they were just making them work in their team, you know, because obviously it was the wide open meta of the summer, but even so, like some of the picks they were making were ridiculous. They had some really crazy comps that they clearly just like theory crafted before, and you wouldn't expect rookies to do that. You'd think the rookies should play it safe, you know, like, oh, you know, let's just go with the meta champs, let's prove ourselves. So certainly as a coach, he was willing to go for it. He went for the brass ring, as it were. How about let's do this then? I can already tell, you've seen the signs, Loco, that like every time Ashley wants to get into a comfort zone, she just turns into interviewer mode. She's like, no, let me ask you what you think of that player. So why don't we do this? Pick another team, and you can play the host again for the moment, and I'll just be like a guest on the show. So me and Loco are guests. Like, hey, yeah, what next, Ashley?
Okay, so can I just add just one more thing about Griffin?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You're the host. You can do whatever you want. You can shut the show down if you want. It's your show.
So another thing that I want to give props to Griffin is, like, you just talked about Griffin going on with the crazy off-meta picks. Griffin is the famous team and Vipers that AD carry who played a fucking Teemo ADC. And he played it twice and he won both of the time. So this is a team that's willing to experiment and try different things, and like, you know, they were the team that performed the best during that like non-mage, like non-marksman meta. So I think they are very flexible as a team, and a lot of the teams have been crediting Griffin as breaking the traditional Korean macro style. Like, you know, all the lanes are willing to go aggressive or jump into a skirmish every time. Tarzan has a very unpredictable jungling path, and I think jungling path is something that's quite standardized in Korea. So I think Griffin can like offer something new to Korean scene, and hey, like, you know, try to beat us. Like, we're trying all these different things, we're shaking things up. So I think Griffin can be that constant nudge in LCK that reminds LCK to try different things, try a new style, you know, not rely on that late damage comp like the standard macro all the time. So I think it's really good that Griffin's doing so well in LCK at the moment.
Okay.
All LCK,
You see, Loco, sometimes in life, if you're a bit crazy and you're willing to take chances, you know, people are like, ooh. And even if they don't necessarily in English like it, you know, it's sort of like that guy from Django Unchained. They're like, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. They get more impressed if you pull it off, you know, you're willing to go for it. Whereas if you just play it safe, you know, next thing you know, you're just at TwitchCon, you're just like, oh, where are all my mates at? Who's got the, whatever that frozen berry or whatever that fucking yogurt brand's called? Who's got the Froyo? And then sleepovers again. Always sleepovers, isn't it? I like sleepovers as well, mate, but I tend to just prefer like two people at a sleepover, and we watch movies, but not the kinds that young people like. So anyway, Ashley, you're the host. I'm sorry I took over. Please resume hosting the show.
am I the host?
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
show now?
of course. Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so I think we're going from the hype teams like slowly downwards. So let's talk about, okay, if I have to throw out Loco, let's talk about Hanwha.
Yeah.
What do you think about Hanwha Loco?
It's very
because they just made it.
It's very Kang Hyung-jong. It's very on air. So on air is the head coach of that team, and on air loves like friendship and talent and internal competition and team 2 and team 3. He loves practice squads. He loves internal scrimming. Like, I can tell that on air is running that team from fucking miles away. Like, Hanwha is the classic on air team where they picked up a bunch of okay to good players, but they picked up a lot of them. They're developing players under, and they want to internally scrim. Like, because On Air had a really big background in baseball and also StarCraft, and baseball and StarCraft are both games that have a lot of practice squads and a lot of people that play under people. So yeah, he likes running his teams that way. That's why MIG always sometimes internally practiced and kept trying to develop players underneath instead of picking up their hype players. And I think same thing with Hwanhwa. It's an okay way of running a team, but I don't think it's ever going to bring you championships.
So the way that Hanwha has approached the offseason is slightly different from the other big teams, and I do, because like Loco mentioned, they try to build a whole 10-man roster. A lot of the names that they have picked up aren't like superstars like BDD or like Yuka or Deft, but they invested in potential players with potential, so to speak, and they're willing to invest in them. They almost seem to be looking at maintaining a large part of this roster next year or the year after. So I think it's a slightly different approach from the other teams, and I think I can respect that. It almost feels like a Cloud9 thing going on.
Cloud9's actually good at their job though, and Cloud9 gets first, makes
that's
it a gauntlet, makes it out of groups at Worlds.
Sure.
Cloud9 has a history of success where on-air teams have a history of underperformance with Afrika, Rocks, and now with Hwanhwa. I think they're gonna continue the history of underperformance, this way of building a roster and prioritizing I guess workability and being able to mesh without any of the star power leaves your team very bland.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Loco. I'll give you a counterpoint to that, because even though generally people know in most games I follow, because I typically only like to watch the best players and the best teams, part of the reason why is because I actually think that those players just warp the entire game and the world around them. If you have a great player, you build the team around the great player. If you have a great player, you find a complementary piece for the great player. If you have a great player in a position that's not the current meta strength position, you're probably better off playing off meta style in that player than you are an inferior player and skewing everything towards him, So generally, I don't normally think this, but actually when I look at the players they have here, right, except for a few names, okay, nobody in this entire lineup is a world-class player. But a lot of them are not as bad as people will think who don't know the names. There's a lot of decent or players who showed a little bit of potential on other teams. So when I actually look at getting almost an entirely new team, getting all these different players, so actually in theory you would guess, as you alluded to, this is a team where really anyone could start. No one's a guaranteed start. You have to compete for your spot. In a world in which I'm going to go ahead and assume Hanwha don't have a lot of money, I actually think it would have been a mistake, based on what we've seen from LCK, to get all your money into one big franchise player as a team that doesn't have as many resources, and then have to put inferior players all around him and only have that one way of playing, basically like Jinair was with Teddy last year. Instead, I think it's actually a better idea to go this approach, because then, first of all, whichever players turn out to be good, there's no pressure to keep anyone in the lineup. You just put the good players in. The ones that don't make it, fine, they go to one side. A whole bunch of them aren't going to make it, clearly. But I would bet at least 2 or 3 players end up being decent or above average out this team. So if you get some good players out this team, you also now have pure freedom as to where you go in the meta. I will say, a lot of it, as you alluded to, is going to rest on air. If he pulls this off, he'll look like a genius. If he doesn't, he might look like an idiot. But it's definitely one of the most unique approaches I've seen to making a team, because, as I say, they basically didn't try to lock down any single known star player, not even one, not even a washed up one. And also, if somehow On Air can make Tal anywhere a competent player, he's a fucking genius. He's an absolute genius. Literally, they should make him the president of Korea. He'll solve the Korean War. He'll denuclearize the whole world. We'll live in a paradise if he can do that. That's the test.
Very on brand for On Air. Also, Twitch chat. Is my voice better, by the way? I try to fix my mic.
Okay.
So go ahead, Ash.
So I do see Sangyun starting most. I'm trying to remember. Loco, who's the sub for Sangyun?
Fuck.
There's a player called Clever. Loco knows nothing about being clever.
Okay.
Okay.
As an AD carry.
Ashley, you should rant a little bit. I'm gonna try to fix my mic. Go ahead.
There we go. Yeah, come on.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
let's banter it. Let's talk about it. Okay, so what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
Okay, I don't know, just like Sangyun, like we talked about like all the teams having that one franchise star, and Sangyun seems to be the obvious franchise star of the Hana Life Esports. He's got such a charisma. He's a great talker. He's a great streamer, and I think he's a quite a decent, maybe even underrated AD carry. So I can see Sangyun starting there for a while, but
Sure.
you know, but for the other lanes, like all the laners are quite young, and yeah, like reiterating my like my belief that I think it's really good that Hana Life is like trying to grow up all this different like players, and let's put like two mid laners with potential and see who performs better. And out of the 10-man roster, I also think that Hana Life Esports even has a few trainees just running around. So I think it's really cool
Trying to
what
have
Hana's
15
doing.
players.
Okay.
I can't hear Loco. We can't hear at all.
Oh.
No, he's going to come back. He's not going to unmute himself. He'll learn how it works eventually.
Okay, cool.
Have you unmuted himself? Also, you have to realize this is actually perfect branding for Hanwha Life because obviously they've got an insurance policy at every position.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Like, the whole friendship thing. I actually catch up with a lot of the streams of the Korean players because I like
Okay.
watching them, and it reveals a bit of a personality in them. And Sangyun was actually doing a stream where he was doing like a Q&A with all the new players. Like sit them down next to them. Hey, what's your favorite food? Remember the time when we went to the public bath? Who has the biggest dongers? Like,
Oh my god.
It was
See, Loco,
like-
I'd fit in perfectly in Korea, mate. I'd be a shoe in there. They'd love my shit over there.
But it was kind of hilarious. But it was good to see, like, rather than just this SKT approach where all the players start streaming at one go, and then like
Okay.
Mata does his own stream and Khan does his own stream. In the Hana live streams, you can see a lot of the players interact with each other. They
Okay.
try to like promote. Oh, okay, so everyone in the Hana life is a family, and we're this like big band of brotherhood
Yes.
under like this Hana
Yes.
company. So it's also
Yes.
also a different type of branding, and it goes back to what Loco was saying about on air.
Yes.
I hate the
Yeah.
whole
Loco, you
It's
look
all
like
right.
you want to say something.
Yeah, you've
Can
muted
you guys
yourself
hear
still,
me?
Loco. You're
Can
still
you guys
muted,
hear me?
mate. You're still muted,
Okay,
mate.
doing good.
Okay.
Wait there
Okay.
a second. He's coming back. He's coming back. Right. Oh, maybe he's
Okay.
just waiting. We'll see. Well, if he talks, he talks. If he doesn't, he dies. No, here's the thing, though, is that, like, first of all, my straight fire reference to Hanwha Life, the insurance company, went completely over your head. But it's okay. It's okay. You still, listen, you have to learn sort of the pacing of these shows. Not everything lands. It's fine. Because that was not only a straight fire reference, it was also actual analysis. It really worked. They had backup positions at every single spot. Brilliant, isn't it? And they even have a family environment. You want family insurance, right? What's going to happen to the kids if the dad dies? You've got to take care of them. And all I've got to say is this, Loco. I think Ashley's actually solved our sort of like unresolved tension there.
What?
When I come to LA, me and you are going to go to a bathhouse and we're going to settle this once and for all.
Oh my god. You're
all I'm gonna tell
so
you-
fucking petty and immature.
And here's the thing. I'm going to bring another guy with us because I'm going to bring
Simon did it.
Yeah. Me and you are going to go to the bathhouse and we're going to bring a ruler with us. And I'm not talking about the AD carry from Genji.
We're gonna bring Monty. Wait, can you guys hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
you sound
Okay.
fine now,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah.
Okay,
You sound
perfect.
You sound right back to your little helium-induced voice.
Thanks.
Hello.
Torrin.
Like, what do you think about Hanwha Life?
I already said my point. Like, I experienced on-air coaching style. I personally didn't like it. I think there's a lot of flaws with it, and especially in such a competitive like environment where like star power and player power means so much. Like, you have to get some superstar players, and also like say some of the players on Hanwha, like players like Tempt, players like Laba that have potential and that can be good, do become good. Why the fuck would they want to stay on Hanwha? They would want to go to more winning teams. I don't think Hwana. I don't like this way of running a team. I just don't like it. I think esport players take much shorter time to develop than traditional sport players. Like in traditional sport, you kind of do this thing because you want to raise a player from like since they were 13, 14 all the way to like 18, 19 and then have them start for your club. Where in esports, players go from not playing to being a good player or even a star player within a year or two. So I don't get all this investment into growing players where esport market is much more fluid and much more short term.
Fair enough. The only thing I've left to say on that is like the one player I was a bit disappointed that they couldn't retain was Linderang. Like I actually thought he was a pretty decent player when I saw him play. So it's a shame, unfortunately, that he left, but whatever. Shit happens. Deal with it. Right. What team should we do next then?
I mean, Jin Air is like a shit fest, no? Like,
That team looks pretty bad.
yeah. Ashley, any comments on Jin Air?
So like, I don't know whether you guys have the same terminology, but in Korea we are calling the current roster of Jin Air Daiso. Do you guys know what Daiso is?
It's where you go
No,
to.
what is that?
No, I know what Daiso is. Daiso is like a dollar store.
The dollar store.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like a store where you have all this like inexpensive like decent quality objects like in the same place, and I think that's what Jin Air has at the moment. Given like the potential budget of that roster and looking at the Esther roster, I think Jin Air has delivered somewhat. Like everyone was like, "Oh my God, we lost the Teddy." Teddy was the one-star player of their team, and he was like the main carry of the team. And now we lost Teddy. Everything's gonna fall to pieces. But after that, they collected like performing bits and pieces all around. LCK, and they got Linderang, they got Stitch as the AD carry, who was the former AD carry of the G-Rex. Looking at how he performed in Worlds, I don't think he's doing terribly, and yeah, like I think given the potential budget that Jin Air might have had, and after they lost Teddy, they haven't done terribly,
The problem is, like, I agree. Like, Stitch has been a decent enough player and showed some promise. Like I say, I thought Linderang was like the best part of the Han Wildlife team and the Rocks team before that. The big problem I have with this squad, and it was the same problem that Jin Air had all year long, is like they could never establish a good mid laner, and they just had those two mid laners, Grace and Justice, who they just swapped in and out. And quite frankly, I don't think either of them were like LCK quality. So they've kept Grace, and I see that they've signed that guy from Kongdu, Chongo, who I don't really know, because as I say, no human, even a Kongdu member, should be forced to rewatch Kongdu games in a VOD, except on like 4 times speed or something. So I unless this guy turns out to be amazing, that's the big problem I have there. It's like, I think if you don't have a competent mid, like good luck in the LCK, mate. That ain't the league to be running a bad mid laner in. That's the NALCS, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. Like, despite the fact that I said that Griffin, Jin Air did, like, they will have to fight quite hard in order to not go to relegation, which is still a thing in LCK at the moment. Even though
Right.
I think
Okay, so they're gonna. Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, though. Just let me put a pin in that. So what you're saying is they're gonna have to fight really hard. So it literally is a game of inches. Then it's like that classic speech that Al Pacino gave in the movie Any Given Sunday. Right? He said it's a game of inches. We remember earlier on with the bathhouse and the. No, never mind. Keep going. Like, go back. Continue.
I'm never bringing on female friends to the show ever again. Oh my God, I feel bad for them.
like even though like I just say that like all the players are like in Jin Air are decent quality. If this is not a bad thing to say, maybe almost like a good for value kind of players. I don't see a lot of players in Jin Air who's like, okay, he's like the undercoming new rookie and he has a really high ceiling and he might potentially pop off. I don't see many players like that in Jin Air that's going to increase the potential of the starting roster a lot. So yeah, I don't think they're going to like really underperform, but I don't know whether that's the overall ceiling for that team is super high either.
The saddest thing about LCK ever since about, well, let's just be real, in the LCK era, basically, after the Korean exodus to all the Chinese people going to China and that like continuing to be a thing, and then now people going to NA and even EU with franchising, is the people that have been hit the most isn't the top Korean teams. They'll always be able to get amazing talents, especially because there'll always be some guy who'll take a pay cut to maybe win Worlds because you've got such a good chance of being on the best Korean team. The people it fucked is the people who are the bottom half of the table in the LCK, because those teams, like the best case scenario is they just get really good team play and they have like 1 or 2 players who emerge and are good. Like those bottom teams now almost never have good players because unfortunately they just get feasted on from everywhere. The top LCK teams, every other team in every other region. Like nowadays, I'm pretty sure as you see, you can get paid more to play in Turkey than to come back and be the mid laner of Kongdu Monster. Like, why would you bother? Why not just, You're not going to go to Worlds. You're not going to win LCK in Kong Monsters. So why not go to another region and just be on a worse team? So sadly, the bottom teams in LCK are kind of depressing. Like, it's always just like looking for a bright spot. Like, maybe he'll be good, and I guess he's all right, But it's as you said there, when you try to look in the future, like, even if you get a good player, unfortunately, he's probably going to leave your team. So it's hard to like look to the future and be like, right, we've got Teddy. Now, who do we get to go right? Oh, shit, Teddy's there. Right. Can we find another Teddy? Oh, shit, there's only one of those. Well, my bad.
Like, Korea also always has to have the worst end of the stick, because even though that whole Korean bubble of like foreign teams rating Korean players pretty high has died a little bit, like Korean players are still one of the most hot-listed players, like, in EU, in NA, in Turkey, in Brazil, in every other wildcard teams. And compared to that, I don't think LCK in this iteration has ever had an import player so far. So they keep, like, that might change according to rumors, but they keep sending players out there, but like, they don't have like any imports to bring back in. And in addition to that, I think there is a lot of funding coming into Challengers Korea this year. APK Prince, which is one of the Challenger team in Korea, has just released their roster, including Mickey, Iksu, Kakao, Fury, who was one of the more hotly contested AD carries. So even Challenger teams are trying to grab all this, like, Korean players now. So the talent pool actually feels spread really thin in LCK at the moment.
Okay. Loco, am I wrong about this? I might be misremembering. I'm sure I remember something like this. Wasn't there a rumor in this off-season that there would be like a Western player who went to LCK or something? Do you remember hearing something like that?
There was like a rumor that a challenger team picked up a foreign player. The Western thing, I'm not like the challenger team picking up a foreign
Might
player.
have been a Chinese player or something.
I heard recently, but for like the Western player going to Korea, I didn't hear of.
Oh, maybe I've mistaken it. I just heard the foreign part and assumed it meant Western in that sense. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Well,
I will say, one thing I do love, by the way, about like Griffin, the Damn One team, is one of the narratives I hate the most in League of Legends is where people act as though a League of Legends team is like an NBA franchise. And, you're building slowly, and I've got some pieces now, but next year I'll build a piece, and I gradually, I go from like an okay team to I make the first round of the playoffs. Then if I do well, maybe I make the second round, and then next year I get a good player. Like in League of Legends, because the meta changes so much, and as a result, there's so many players that players go from being like really good to average to terrible to really good again as each split goes by. Like, realistically, you don't power up over split over split over split over split. If you're a really good team, you're just good. And so what's amazing about teams like Griffin, and we've seen some of these challenger teams, you can come in the league and just be the best already. Like, whenever any Western team gives me that excuse of like Clutch Gaming was the best one. Like, in the spring, we got to the semis, that we're going to build on that. You're not building on shit. Like, that was who you are. That was like the best case scenario. Like, you got worse, if anything. Like, grow the fuck up. Fire everyone.
okay.
I mean, they fired a few people, but they didn't fire everyone. That was too harsh.
Right.
Should have fired everyone though.
Let's
Anyway, what about that then? That was a segue, Ashley, to talk about Damn One Gaming. And I'm not saying like, damn, there's one gaming team that I want to see. No, not that. For people who don't know this team, why should they be hyped?
Me or Loco?
You.
You're
Ashley, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not Ashley.
It's just a clue. When I address you by your name, I only call Loco Ashley off air again when we meet in bathhouses. But I keep going.
I'm gonna blame it on my device because my earphone's cutting out here and there. But so for people who don't know Damon Gaming,
What's the bottom of the dice or?
Yeah. Again, the Korea LCK still has the whole promotion relegation system, and for 2019, 2 teams have been promoted, and instead of them, MVP and BBQ Olivers have been relegated to challengers. One of them is a team called Battle Comics, and the other one is called Damon Gaming. Damon Gaming doesn't have any players that Western player might recognize. So on top, they have Nuguri, who is like a really big solo queue star. Their mid laner, who is called Showmaker. He is consistently one of the top 10 players in the Korean solo queue. So it's a team made out of solo queue stars, and they pretty much killed the summer challenger split. And another interesting thing about Damon Gaming, because they haven't had any playtime in LCK just yet. During Worlds, so all the European teams are trying to scrim, and apparently Diamond Gaming was the scrim partner for all the European players, the European teams,
Yes.
and the consistent, the word of the street was Diamond Gaming has been killing it on scrims. Like all the European teams like Reckless and like,
Yes.
even Wadid was saying, who the fuck are those people? Showmaker is so good. Like, Nuguri is like a hyper top carry. Like we actually really glad that they're not in Worlds. So yeah, really excited to see them in LCK, because another exciting thing I like think that Diamond Gaming brings to LCK is, I think Diamond Gaming is that other team who doesn't exactly play to that slow macro style of Korea. They are quite aggressive in all the different lanes. They are not afraid to go into like, this 2v2 skirmishes pre 15-minute, which is like an aggression that LCK like as a region really needs. So that's one of the reasons I'm really excited to see Diamond Gaming in LCK. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I
Loco,
only know one
what do
player
you
from
think on
that
this?
team, Showmaker, and I try to research a bit on him. Wow, like the bravado to play Katarina, consistently good mechanics. He seems like someone to watch out for. I don't know that much about Damwon
Okay.
at all.
I mean, to be fair,
yeah,
they also have, one player that people might know is they have Nuclear, who used to be the AD carry of H2K Gaming in season, I think it was season 7, I think it was, where he was in that bot lane with that guy called Che, where they had a Korean bot lane actually. So he's actually returned to the LCK, but no one knows who will be the starter yet.
So I talked to a few support players in LCK, and they rate Hoyt, the current support player in Diamond Gaming, pretty highly. And I want to talk about another player. He's called Canyon, and people might know him better as Jug King, who has been #1 player in Korean solo for quite some time. He's a jungler, and everyone assumed that this is like a second ID of Tarzan, but he actually turns out to be a trainee in Damwon who's been completely killing it the Korean solo queue. And I think he's going to be a starter coming from 2019 because he finally becomes of age. So yeah, this is a roster full of solo queue, high mechanic players. So
Damn.
yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
How does a team that's not even LCK have like trainees and like have so much hype players, while Jin Air and Hwanhwa are just like, I guess, like settling with middle class players? It's kind of weird to think about.
Is Dam1 just like an org no one's heard of and a brand new one that's just come along?
So like as an organization or this current roster?
No, as an org, yeah.
As an org, I think they're like, so
Like, do they have funding and sponsorship and all that stuff?
So they are currently funded, like the naming sponsor is a company called Damwon Monitors, which is like a monitor making company in Korea, strangely enough. And
I guess that, yeah.
Yeah. So they have a few other sponsors too.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So the last team. Or go ahead.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
By the way, did we talk about Genji?
Oh
No,
shit!
let's do it now.
We skipped over Genji completely.
Let's do it now. Let's do it now. But here's the thing, though. Inadvertently, it was a Freudian slip by you, because you said earlier on, Ashley, I'll let you be the host. You said we were going down the teams by how much hype they were and how good they are. And you know what? You've actually inadvertently appropriately put Genji at the right position, because this lineup looks fucking garbage.
Whoa.
Come on.
I think Cube's
Listen.
good. I think Ruler's good. I think Peanut's decent. I think Fly
What does
is-
good mean in this sense, though?
I think Cube. Well, okay. I think Ruler is a top tier AD carry in Korea.
Sure, I'm with you on that one.
I think Cube is a good top. He's
Sure,
upper
yeah.
half top laner.
Okay, so not too crazy, but yeah.
Peanut is probably upper half. Peanut is upper half
Of
jungler.
course. Yeah.
Peanut is so overrated though. Peanut as a brand and Peanut as a cutesy Korean boy is much bigger than Peanut as a jungler, and people.
Peanut is the Khan of junglers. He either just carries the shit out of the game, or he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and just feeds the whole game away.
But on top of that, Peanut's also cute and very likable, so people overrate him hella. So yeah, they have like 3 good players and like 2 service.
Listen, no need to be jealous, homie. No need to be jealous, homie. You couldn't get that advantage. You know,
When
it's
I
all right,
played-
you learned English.
When I played, a lot of people thought I was cute, and they supported me.
You know, to be fair, that was a
I had a
long
lot
time
of
ago.
fake girls.
I mean, go back and look at that group like Hot or whatever they were, Hot Forever, whatever they were called. Like they had some
HSC
fucking
Forever.
whack
Look,
fashion
look
back in the 90s. Like Koreans always don't know what's on point, you know.
We know.
Locodoco, would you like me to dig up that comic that this?
No,
is,
no,
like,
하지 마,
made?
하지 마. No,
The moment you and Matt.
I want you to tell.
Something else.
I want you to tell Doran how popular I used to be back in Korea.
No, he was so popular that they made a comic. I don't know.
Ah,
Sure.
And you should, and like, in order to prove how popular it is.
Is this
you
the one
should
where he was in
totally
the
read that
backpack
comic.
of like Mad
I'm-
Life
I'm
just
happy-
carried him?
No. I'm happy to translate that comic
oh,
about this great brotherhood between Locodoco and MadLife, and he knows exactly what I'm talking
there
about.
we
He's
go.
laughing his ass.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
It was a comic and it was cringy as fuck. That's why he's laughing.
Okay.
You know
But-
what, Loco? If
Yeah?
this show ever gets big enough that we get real sponsors where we have money and we
Yeah.
can like fly out, just for the lulls, we
Yeah.
should recreate that epic advert that you did with Mad Life, where you were like hiding in the bushes, looking at all those girls who were like in bikinis or whatever. We should just for the like shot by shot, we could recreate that.
Okay, sure. Why do you want to recreate that one specifically? Do you not get to hang around? What is it? Bikini women in your normal life?
Listen, when you say that, hang around them. We're going to be in the bushes looking at them, mate. I'm pretty sure we can all do that anytime we want, as long as the police don't come round. So don't worry about that. There's no need to start delving into that
no,
territory.
me and Matt Life also like sat in like chairs like this, and then we also looked at them
Okay.
like this, like that. Oh man, that commercial was actually really
Sneaky.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah,
Here's the
but-
problem with this lineup, though, Loco, is
Yeah.
when you went through all those players there, I can tell you an obvious problem I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on the first three names. I think QV, I think he got a bit overrated when they won Worlds. He's an above average mid laner, good mid laner, but you don't want him as your star player.
top laner, but yeah.
Top laner,
Ruler,
top laner.
oh, sorry, top laner, whatever. Ruler was probably the best player on this team. He's was one of the better AD carries, even when Genji was bad. But he was one of the best AD carries only when he had the same bot lane. We've never seen him play without Core JJ and be a really good player. So I have no clue what he's going to be like. And he wasn't like a fucking lane dominant, like stomp the game AD carry. He was like a play the game correctly, get to the late game, be an AD carry, play fucking all the standard ones you'd expect, do long range damage, just hit people in team fights, win. Right. So here's my problem. Peanut's a very good jungler. Who does Peanut service? Because his mid laner is Fly. And if you know anything about Fly, he's a very idiosyncratic mid laner who in some ways is good. Like he can be a decent player, but he's definitely not a star player. He's definitely not a player who's going to be like MVP in the LCK. So my problem with this team is they've got some good players, but I don't think they've got like the heavy hitters. Like I don't see how this team becomes a top team, you know.
So Fly reminds me a lot of Huhi. So this roster reminds me of like the Huhi, Afro, Stixay, Darshan, Xmithie roster.
Okay.
A lot of similarities. I think they're gonna have to win through split pushing. They're gonna have to win through creative team fights. But yeah, they don't have that star power, and I'm very surprised they overspent for Peanut and they weren't willing to replace Fly. They must have a lot of faith in Fly.
Didn't you think that was the crazy part? Because when I see this lineup, right, if I hadn't read any of those interviews, I would assume this is a lineup where it's like, right, we had to cut our budget back. So, we got Fly back from overseas. And, okay, luckily we got Ruler and Kuve to stay. Okay, Peanut was like, he had a bad split, obviously, on King's Own, and they did badly at World. Didn't even go to Worlds rather. So, this is a time to, like, reconsolidate the team. But actually, if you saw the interview, the whole reason Peanut even gave as to why he joined the team was like, I get to be the highest paid jungler in the LCK. Presumably, they have money. Genji is an org with their Overwatch team and teams elsewhere. They have money. They actually have real funding as a squad. So if this was the lineup they chose to put together, they're either geniuses and they know something we don't know, or I think they just spent money in the wrong places. Like I said, like they got good players, but not necessarily the players you want the best players to be,
I can't, like, on the Peanut thing, like, if I'm almost being a devil's advocate, you could almost flip it around and say Peanut always performed the best when he was the center of the game. And that was how old Rocks play the game almost. Like, Kuro wasn't like a resource demanding mid laner. So Peanut was allowed to roam, like, depending on, like, his instincts and just, like, gank wherever he wants to. And I do believe that in the interviews, the Rocks Tigers said that Peanut was the shot caller at the moment. So which is kind of in the contrast of how Kings on Dragon X plays. So I'll be kind of interested to see if Peanut is almost allowed to be the central carrier of the team. But I also agree with you guys that Genji feels like it's lacking that, like, their final punch, like, that extra aggression to, like, finish the game. And in the interviews, Genji has said that the reason they made such a heavy roster changes is because they wanted to change their playstyle, because Genji also seems to have recognized that, hey, we were too rely on that late game damage, like, like play the game slow correctly and win through, like, 5v5 team fights. So I don't know whether they completely achieved that. Like, I remember Ruler as a player who always played the ADC and didn't go out of his comfort zone too much. And yeah, we'll see. Like, I'll almost like to see a sub mid laner to fly. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, like.
Put it as you say, if they're going to, by the way, try to recreate that style, since they've still got Cuba and they've got Ruler, that doesn't make any sense to have Peanut then, because Peanut's the player you want to be popping off early and just going ham and snowballing the fucking game,
So they wanted to change their playstyle. They
actively said they wanted to change.
Yeah,
okay, I see.
They want to change up their slow playing, and they wanted more versatility in their way to approach the game. So I think that's why they brought in Peanut, because he's like almost like the opposite of
I see now. Yeah, I misunderstood that. Yeah.
No. I probably
Well,
said it wrong, but yeah.
Bearing in mind, no one knows who the fuck Battle Comics are. There's one team left that we haven't talked about yet, which is, it's amazing that this team's in this position, because obviously, if you go to the end of the spring split of this year, King's Own Dragon X is the #1 team in the world, and they have amazing players at every position, and people are literally, with good reason, saying like this could be one of the best teams to ever play League of Legends. Next, you fast forward a bit, don't even get anywhere close to winning LCK Summer, don't even make Worlds again, not even close. Now, they've seen all their talent just bled away, literally retained none of the big names, and the lineup they have now, for people who don't know, is they got Rascal, who was like a backup before and just never used to play. They have Koz, who was the old jungler they had when they first won LCK, who everyone just was like, this guy is the worst player to ever win LCK. They've got him back in the lineup. Then the signings were they got Pawn. That's right. Pawn still has the audacity to dare plug in a mouse and think he can play League of Legends. They got Deft, a really sick player. Fair enough. And somehow, I assume because they had Deft, they convinced Tusin to just commit career suicide and join this team right now. Because he's like, haha, at least the bot lane will be good. It's like, have you seen who's in the mid lane? You're not even going to get any items, homie. They're just going to be banging you out because Pawn's back. Like, every time I see Pawn join a new team, it's like that scene in The fucking Shining where Jack Nicholson comes through that door like, it's Johnny. Like what the fuck is this? This guy is such a bomb. It's like, it's not 2014 anymore. You are a terrible player. And even worse, you have the worst instincts of all time. And you go balls deep on every decision. How about just back the fuck off? How about last hit a creep and let someone win the game for you? You're not going to style on everyone and get 9 kills in a game.
Yeah, we talked about lack of good bot laners in Korea.
This bot lane's pretty sick.
Yeah, Deft and Tufin being on a bot lane is fucking sick. But how did they end up on this roster? Why couldn't KT get Deft and Tufin? Like, why couldn't Afrika get Deft and Tufin? Like, why couldn't one of the better teams...
Here's what they did. Loco, what they did, I can tell. Like, I've thought it through, and I realise how it makes sense now. Right? Deft was like, okay, I want to play, but if I play, I've got to have a lot of talent around me. You saw what happened last time. I had talent, but it was the wrong talent. And they were like, it's okay, don't worry. We've got a guy who's won Worlds... no, he's won LCK. He's won LPL. He's a fucking sick mid lane. He said, oh, I'm in. Who the fuck is this guy? And they're like, don't worry about that. And then they go, we've got a jungler who's won LCK as well. He's like, oh, fuck, nice. Yes, a jungler who's won LCK. And they go, and we've kept one of our top laners. And he goes, oh, fuck, yes, Khan's still there. Right, this is the team for me. Tussin, get in here. Right, we're ready to go. Who the fuck is this lineup? And then it's like, technically, it is what we said. That's all accurate. That is exactly what we said. He's like, oh, no, I've signed the contract. What have I done? Oh, it's like when I stayed 1 year too long in Korea, in China in the LPL. Oh, what have I done? Why have I done that? Why have I signed to play with mouse again? Why have I done that?
So this is what I've seen from the chats that the players are having, because, they stream and then some of the chats become public. It seems like Yukal and Spirit was telling Pawn, oh my god, why did you take Deft away from us?
Okay.
When Deft signed, and Deft also mentioned in interviews that he was considering really good offers from several different teams, which is understandable because ADCs are really hard to get in this current off season. And he decided on Kingdom very last minute. So it is possible based on those, pieces. It's possible the hypothesis that Deft was going to go to Africa, and it was almost like a last minute decision to come to King Zone, and it may be because Pawn is there.
Oh, imagine if he was on Africa
Or KT.
Oh, that'd be so sick.
So Pawn ruined two
Pawn
teams for you.
So Pawn had a bit of a health issue during 2018, and he's been apparently killing it in the solo queue. So I'm happy to give him like a bit of a slack and just like see how he performs in 2019. And I rate Deft pretty highly. So yeah, I actually think that Kingzone, like after losing pretty much all of their starters, and everyone's thinking, oh my god, this team is practically gonna blow over or get bought by another organization, has done decently in this off season. And I'm like, wow, I'm really surprised, and I'm looking forward to this roster, maybe even more than like some of the other top names.
Wait a minute. If you dare say something like you're giving Pawn benefit of the doubt and you're looking forward to this roster, you now have to give us some specifics. What are the expectations you have for this team? Like, are they actually going to be a playoff team? Are they going to do something?
I think they're going to be a playoff team, yes.
Okay. Do you want to bet
They'll all be
something?
fans.
Ashley, do you want to
Yeah,
bet something?
you want to make a bet?
Pardon?
You want to make a bet?
Let's make a bet. Okay, I think. Okay, so is it going to be a spring split playoff?
Right, wait a second, because I have to double check something. Let me just double check something.
All right.
Because the problem is, I'm just checking if it's still the same as it used to be.
What's
what people might not know is that in the playoff system in LCK, they used to have like a round that was a best of 3 before the best of 5s. That was like the wild.
Oh yes,
card,
So
that doesn't count.
Like
it has to be the top 4.
Okay, top 4. Okay,
top 4,
wait. Okay.
Top 5, right? Top 4. Yes, it has to be top 4, not the 5th spot. It has to be top 4.
Oh, that's hard. Okay.
What are we betting for?
There's a problem.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Actually, wait a second. I'll see if I can make this fair. Let me see who the teams are. Let me see. Surely there's got to be 5 teams better than this. Let me see. Got Griffin, KT, SK Telecom. Oh, I only need 2 more. SK Telecom. A Freak is kind of pushing it. I don't know if I can get if down one turns up. Okay, fuck it. I'll say they don't make playoffs at all. Yeah.
Griffin also.
Like,
that's pretty good for you. They don't have to make top 4. Top 5 rather. Top 5. I'll give you top 5. There you go.
Top 5. Okay, I'll say top 5, not top 4.
Top 5.
Right, the winner. If I win, you have to do a tweet that says like, "Sorry at Locodoco, but at Thorin with 3 O's is the new cute boy in Korea right now."
What did I do to get included in this shit? Oh my god.
Listen, you're riding on her side, homie. Right, so there you go. And what do you want if you win?
Okay, I hear this.
There is an opening at a bathhouse in LA in about 6 months.
What does that have to do with...
Name your forfeit.
Oh my god.
Okay, so what do I get? I need to hear
name
this.
something. Name something. What do you want?
I don't know. Like, shit.
We'll all get together, the 3 of us, and we'll live stream us all watching a marathon of romantic comedies.
What?
I don't like romantic comedies.
Okay.
Well, now you're never going to be Loco's friend zone. See, she watches LCK. She doesn't even care about romantic comedies. You're done, mate. I'd give it up if I were you.
Oh my god.
Give up the ghost.
You know, okay, for our next guest, we're gonna bring on someone that's worked with me on a team or like knows me personally, so that they can. Because I don't want to say with my own mouth, like
because they put up with your shit before. Yeah.
So I'll get someone like David or someone like Parth or like someone like Lustboy, and then we can actually talk about me and women if you really want to.
But by the way, random thing, you guys should also do an episode on LPL.
Okay.
If you want.
I mean, listen, Loco, we did that before. What happened was Loco just sat there listening to the person talk about LPL, like, oh, fascinating. This is Invictus Gaming is here. Oh, interesting. Right,
what? I contributed! Why do you underplay me so much?
Anyway,
my theory is, Dorian, you're just jealous and you feel threatened by me.
I'll give you
what?
Loco, I'll be fair. Since I set the terms of what happens if I win, and it included you getting wrecked, you can set the terms of what Ashley wins if she wins. What do you think she should win? What do I have to do?
What do you have to do? Actually, what would you want from Doran? I don't know.
Like, out of Thorin,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, I didn't expect you to know what women want, but fucking hell, at least take a stab at it.
Okay, if-
like, I'm like, do you want to help me with interviews doing MSI or some shit? I'm just like, I'm really boring.
Okay. Okay, we can help spice it up.
No.
Okay.
if Ashley wins, why don't you fly her out to her event of her choice? Why don't you cover her flights to her event of her choice? You talk about how much money you have all the time, so you
That is
fly
true, I
you
do.
fly her out to the event of
Yeah,
her
all right.
choice.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
do that. It
Okay.
has to be a reasonable event though.
Yeah.
It can't be like on the fucking moon or whatever on the first like Tesla X flight or something. It has to be some place in the world that's an event.
So you pay for her flights there and back. She'll cover hotel and everything, but you pay for her flights
Yeah.
there and back for an event of her choice, like MSI, Worlds, Rift Rival, whatever.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I don't mind supporting people who actually have talent in this industry, people who are hardworking, try and make it there on meritocracy, you know.
Okay.
I mean, in this case, you'd be making it there because you won a bet, so not really sure it's a meritocracy, but fair enough. The rest of it sounded great up until that point, didn't it?
Anyway, well, Ashley, hopefully you get a free flight.
Well, here, maybe what
Okay,
I'll do
I
is
think
this. Hopefully the event's in LA so that I can fly you out. Loco will go there. You'll meet him, and then you can confirm that he is pretty cringy.
What? I'm not. Why do you? Oh. I think you're just jealous. You're just jealous that I'm
Yeah.
young,
Yeah.
I'm attractive, and I'm famous in esports at the right time where you're old and girls don't really care about
Loco.
you, and CS:GO
Loco.
girls aren't as cute. I'm
Loco,
sorry,
first of all,
Doran.
CSGO girls straight bangers because we have actual pro players who are female. I mean, they don't play in the male tournaments, obviously, but they play in the female tournaments. Some of them straight fire. Look, check out some of the ones from Norway. That's all I'm going to say. Magnifique.
There's a very
Well, this
specific
is-
optic CS:GO player that I like.
She's not bad. Yeah, it's better than you at games, mate. Like, anyway, but here's the thing. Pretty good AWPer, actually.
Yeah.
Here's the one
Yeah.
question I have
Good
for
at
you,
other
okay,
things. Are
is
Okay.
you did say earlier in this exact episode, Loco, that like you think youth is really overrated and that you value experience. So all I'm going to say is your own argument counters you in this argument. There you go. Game
but
over.
I also do have a lot of experience.
Well, I know that's probably what you say, and then do that, and then slide a fucking Arnold Palmer down the bar. and hope it works
Okay,
for
yeah,
the
that
end.
was cringy. I'm
And
like,
then,
oh.
I know exactly. Yeah, fair enough. Whatever. At least you got there in the end. This is
Yikes.
going to be the end of the episode, right? We've done
Yikes.
every single team. Okay, what about this, Ashley? Take over
Okay.
the end of the episode.
There's
How
one more
would you-
team. by the
Wait,
way.
wait. There's the whole point
There
of
is one
this.
more team.
Okay, go. Oh, Battle Comics.
I'm like, yeah, there's like a one team, and I'm like,
Okay.
ooh, like, should we spend? Should we actually
You tell us
spend
about it.
time on them? So earlier in the episode I mentioned that LCK has a whole promotion system, and two teams got promoted to LCK in 2019, Damo Gaming and Battle Comics. And Battle Comics is like the literal underdog story, and a bit of a background story is the support player in Battle Comics, called Joker, is actually quite old. He's 27.
Wow.
So for a challenger player who's just being promoted to LCK, he has got a decent age. He actually went to the Korean military service. And, yeah. And when he came back, he got really into League of Legends while he was in uni. And during uni, he made like a uni club, and the Battle Comics kind of naturally evolved from that. So it's like a true underdog story. They weren't as dominating as Diamond Gaming in the challenger, but they managed to beat MVP, so they go to LCK. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna be really honest here. I can't say like overwhelmingly positive thing about this team. It's a team of rookies, but none of them are super popping off in solo queue. They just lost their top laner Saw to another team and placed him like a lesser version of that player. The only player in Battle Comics that has really popped up for me at the moment is on Fleek, who's like a high elo solo queue player in Korean rank, but I don't think that's enough to carry this team any further, and it might be a relegation, like in a promotions again for them. I'm not sure, but do you know? Like, can you add anything to that, Loco?
I heard
around
this team
Battle
got bought out. I heard this team got
Mhm.
bought out by another organization, and
Okay.
this is the team. So in Korea, right, there is a kind of a etiquette to buying out players. So you have to contact the teams, and then the teams tell you, okay, we're first talking to KT, and then we're gonna talk to Genji, and then we'll talk to you. But this team really wanted Faker, and they approached Faker, or the org that bought out Battle Comics approached Faker, and they were like, oh yeah, we want to buy you out. Like, they crossed a lot of lines. They pissed off a lot of teams, and I heard they were blacklisted from a lot of the trades with the orgs. So yeah, this team just got fucked in the offseason upside down. So yeah, I'm pretty disappointed too, and it seems very lackluster.
Yeah.
Also, guys, the show is not over until we do viewer question. That's
Oh,
the
I
point
forgot
of-
about that. Yeah, I always
No.
forget that because I'm used to it being in pre-recorded, you
Okay.
know. But
So
the beauty of it now is Loco can't edit any of this shit out live.
why
Just
I
all
don't
goes up.
edit any of the parts ever in general, unless you say some real fucked up shit.
He does. He goes to his editor, who's like his little fucking minion, like some shit out, like Dobby out of fucking Harry Potter. There you go. I know one thing about Harry Potter. And he goes, make me look good. And then the guy goes, I'm an editor, not a miracle worker. And he goes, all right, but at least edit out the parts where I get wrecked. He goes, there's only 5 minutes left in the show. And then he goes, oh, fucking just release it all then, whatever. And then he rakes in that ad revenue. So you don't realize Loco's like one of those wrestling villains. Like, it doesn't matter if you all flame him. He still gets all the ad revenue, doesn't he? You joke. Joke's on you.
Dorian,
You idiots. He wins.
last time I got sponsorship, we split 50-50, and this time when we get sponsorships, we'll split 50-50 again.
Exactly. Well done. Yeah. See, that's a true partnership. There's no imbalance. One person isn't above the other one. Yeah. Finally, in your life, you've got that. You've got a real person who's willing to share life with you here.
Thank you.
But anyway, viewer questions. Take some viewer questions
yeah,
now.
let's do viewer questions on Twitch.
Keep them PG.
I'm not going to have them over Discord. If you ask anything weird, because we have a sexual guest, I will not pick your question. Just please do good questions. And
right, Loco, that was a really bad Freudian slip, but we know what you meant there. Keep going.
Please do good questions. Ask on Twitch chat. Do good questions, guys.
Yes, just ask normal shit.
Yeah,
just ask normal shit.
Yeah.
Ignore what he said with the end. That was a mistake. Just a normal about League of fucking Legends, preferably Korean League of Legends.
Ask towards Doran
Yes.
and Ashley, not towards me.
I'm not reading the
Yeah,
chat
don't
at
read
the
the chat.
moment.
Don't read the chat. Don't worry.
Don't read the chat.
Okay.
They're animals. Don't let them talk to you.
Who is KT80 carry? We honestly don't know, or we
don't know.
Yeah, where we would talk.
Is
about
there
it.
even any speculation in the Korean scene? Like, come on, are you telling me if I go on like DC Inside right now, there's not all little cunts like speculating? Oh, I think it's this guy. It's this guy. Definitely this person. I saw him and he changed his solo queue tag to. There must be some speculation. Who could? Is there anyone out there who it could potentially be even?
I'm just gonna go through like Discord conversation where I was having like a 30-minute conversation with a friend on where is KT's ADC. This is not where is Wally.
Okay.
Like Kespa Cup is right around the corner, and we look at the free agency like pool, and there isn't enough ADC. Prey pretty much said that he will take spring split off.
Yes.
Even though he is like he will be the best fit in KT at the moment, given the free agency pool. There has been some rumors that some members of KT try to approach Prey directly, like as a friend, as a bro, so to speak. Hey,
Okay.
Do you want to give this one more shout? So apparently there was a conversation. People were talking about everyone from Rain. Rain to Soul to Hybrid, like B-Boy, and there are some and some like solo queue players and challengers, but it will either be a less known ADC or KT fans are crossing their fingers on Prey.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
nothing's confirmed. Rush recently said on stream that, hey, KT has a new ADC that has moved into the practice house recently.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they have confirmed it, but perhaps they don't want to reveal it until the Kespa Cup, which comes up in, later in December.
Okay. So here's a question for Ashley. How do you think Crown will do in North America?
Who?
Crown.
Crown. I do know that his English isn't terrible, given the few conversations that I had with him. So Okay, so I don't know about NA as much as you guys, obviously, but from what I've observed, players that do well in NA tend to be like more extroverted, like they want to go out of their shells and comfort zones to interact with the other players and like, learn new cultures, like, get along. Crown doesn't completely hit me as a player like that.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of a personality, I don't know whether Crown is a player that's gonna like fit into a new culture super well. And also another thing about Crown is Crown has always been known as that extra hardworking LCK player who like decides on a champion and grinds like mid Lucian or whatever, like 18 hours straight. And there has also been a discussion about like, how does an ACK player deal with that shift in NA where players get a bit more of like, free time or like, a bit more of control over their own lives. So I don't know whether Crown is going to maintain that, like, really insane practice schemes, or he's going to like, completely tone down a bit, because I think that practice hours that Crown's be training out is an integral part of who Crown is as a player.
Okay.
So we'll see, yeah.
I think he's going to straight up fail. Like, I've got to say, like, first of all, it's not like he was doing that great in Korea. But anyone using the logic of like, yes, but LCS is way worse than Korea. Yeah, but it's actually harder in some senses because you have to play with people who speak English and you not speaking Korean. You don't have the same culture. You're not in your comfort zone. So my big problem is he already literally said many times in 2017 and 2018 that he was having like a lot of emotional problems. He was like depressed with his form. And by the way, this is the depressing thing. Whenever I find this next detail that I say out about a player, I kind of give up on them. Is if you're a player who's really underperforming and playing badly, but it turns out you also like had a bad attitude or you didn't play much or something, like I can say, okay, maybe there's a chance you come back to being good. Crown was putting in the hours even when he was terrible. And that is really depressing because if you put in the hours and you've got like a team that has a chance to succeed, you just can't be good, basically. You just, for whatever reason, you're incapable at that moment of being good no matter what you do. So I think when he goes to NA and he's in this alien environment, he's got a very mixed bag team. Some of those players are bad, if I'm being honest. Like they've got a couple that could be okay. I think they're going to be a team that loses a lot of games. He's going to get shit on and memed on by all the fans. Like people are going to go so hard. Also, remember, he's someone who's like, unlike other Koreans, he was always quite a quiet Korean anyway. How's he going to handle when not only is he getting memed on, but then people like Doublelift are just trash talking him like, haha, this guy is fucking garbage or whatever. Like he's probably not even going to know it's a joke. He's going to be like, oh my God, a world's failure has called me trash. No, I'm just joking about it. You know, like I think it's just going to be bad. It's going to be a bad state of affairs. This is going to be like when he went to Brazil.
Okay. All right. So question for both Dorian and Ashley. So people keep asking about Kelsey being coach for 100 Thieves. I thought they were trolling, but I just checked on Twitter. So
No, she's the academy coach.
Yeah, so she's the academy head coach and the academy director. How do you guys think Kelsey will do as a academy head coach for 100 Thieves?
That's not really an LCK question. I think she's got a really great analytical mind. Our like paths haven't really crossed because I mostly cover LCK and I'm relatively new to the scene, and I know Kelsey as the person who covered LPL a lot. But like given of what I know of her work, yeah, I think she's gonna go do well.
Okay.
How about you, Thorin?
The tough thing is this, like, I don't know entirely, because here's the thing, the key detail here to understand is that she is joined as the head coach of the academy team. When she was in H2K, she was basically the analyst. Like, she was the person who came with, like, here's the numbers, and here's what happened in solo queue, and here's my theory on how we should have, like, we made this macro mistake here. So, like, in that role, I would imagine she could be a pretty good, if she put in the time and effort like she did to become a good journalist, because for people who don't know, the type of journalist she was, like writing and doing video content, like you start at zero with that and you have to learn it. It's a skill. No one's born being able to write in some sick fashion. It's really hard, actually. So anyone who gets good, they didn't, like you see the end product and think, oh, they're just talented. No, that takes a lot of work. So I know she has a really good work ethic and it can improve. The problem is this, if she's going to be the head coach, she's now taken on the biggest challenge of her whole career, because not only does she have spotlight on her, she'll be judged based on the results of the team, but being a head coach is about more than just knowing the game and knowing what to tell people in the game. It's about like managing personalities and egos, and then being able to get someone to like perform better, and then being able to know which person do I comfort and which person do I sort of kick up the arse and tell them, like, get your shit together, you know. And obviously, as a person, I can relate to this. She was like a quieter person earlier in her life. She wasn't a very outgoing person. So all I'll say is this: based on what I know about her life so far, if she doesn't improve at all, I would say it wouldn't go very well. But based on her work ethic, etc., I'm very interested to see what will happen, because if she can succeed and like evolve as a person in that sense, then first of all, not only will she get a lot of credit for this team, but more importantly, if she can nail that part, she could be a head coach in a real LCS team. Like, you could actually like make it for real. So I'll keep it 100, everyone, since it is 100 Thieves. I'm not going to say it's going to be amazing. She's going to be some sick coach. I have no reason at the moment to believe that will be the case in terms of a head coach, but I do believe in her work ethic, so I'm willing to give her a shot on that one.
A lot of people are asking about Kespa Cup.
Oh, by the way, we will continue to do narrative work, even though she's the head coach, so don't worry about it. Still be going.
So
we might even have Ashley on the episode. We'll just have her on, and we'll have a normal episode and we just talk about the game. No cringe, not even any mention of dongers. And just talk about the game. Just have a nice time. Be very civil.
But you're the one that brings that shit up, not
Obviously,
me.
that's the joke, isn't it? That's the joke. .jpg.
Okay, so final question, and then we can wrap up the show. Do you guys have any prediction for Kespa Cup? Any teams that you guys think are going to do really well? Maybe ones you think will do really badly, despite the hype?
So I looked at because this just got announced. I looked at what do you call it? Like, which team is gonna face which one?
Yeah,
the brackets.
Yeah, I looked at the brackets of the Kespa Cup. We just really gonna know, and SKT has a very tough journey ahead. I think they have to go against APK Prince, that new challenger team that just bought, like, you know, Miki and Ixu and Kakao and stuff, and then they have to face probably Diamond Gaming.
You know, half of those players are washed up as fuck. Like, if someone tells me, "Oh, you're not going to be facing Kakao," I'm like, "Oh no, he's so good," and then they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's 2018. You're facing him in. All right, fair enough. Bring it on. Yeah, cool." He's terrible.
First APK Prince, and then Diamond Gaming, probably, and then if Griffin wins against Africa, they have to go against Griffin. So SKT has a very tough journey if they have to win the Kespa Cups, but I'm almost excited about that because I'll see SKT's current roster tested against Damwon and Griffin, and I think that's super exciting. But I'm gonna make I almost
bold
feel
prediction?
like Griffin's gonna win it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's even bold, but I think Griffin can win against SKT because Griffin had more time to practice on this, like, you know, existing roster, while I'm guessing that SKT still has to, like, you know, figure some stuff around synergy and teamwork.
Fun fact: SK Telecom has never won the Kesper Cup and has never won one of the off-season tournaments in Korea. They always get upset.
Oh,
That is a fact. Yeah.
Oh.
In fact, that will change though, because they're going to win this one. They're going to thrash all those teams. They're going to body them all completely. I don't really give a fuck about all those things. Griffin, who even cares? Just garbage, aren't they? No, they're a pretty good team, actually, to be fair. But no, I think this SK Telecom, like, if anything, I think, like as I said, because they've never won it. And personally, like, I know actually people don't consider. I realize in Korea you're not allowed to say this because it's Kesper, but no one really gives a fuck about the Kesper Cup. It's just a tournament you play because you have to, and you go and you try it and you test your roster out and you hope you get a bit of form. So as a result, one of the reasons I've always thought the results there are wacky is because I don't think people practice super hard for it. I think they come off the off season and they just play the tournament. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Who gives a fuck? Like, KT winning that didn't mean like, oh my God, we've won the Kesper Cup. It's like, not really. So I think actually they just come in, everyone just plays. They've got a sick roster. Maybe they win. There we go. What do you think, Loco?
I agree with you. I think people are just not going to care that much, but I actually agree with you on the SKT winning. I think SKT is embarrassed of 2018, then they really want to start 2019 on a good foot, and I think winning Kespa Cup will show, like, hey, like, SKT is back and, like, we are not to be fucked with. So I think SKT will try hard more so than the other teams, and so will Griffin. So the two teams you guys mentioned, Griffin and SKT, has to be the favorites. All right.
They're gonna meet in the semifinals, so it'll be interesting.
Ashley, thank you so much for being on the episode. Do you have any more final words for viewers on YouTube and Twitch?
Like, I didn't know what to expect when I came into this show. Like, I watched some of the local stream, but I was a bit nervous coming in because I was like, hey, do I know enough about LCK? This is one of my first times doing like an on-air talk show, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I also learned a lot. And yeah, thanks for inviting me because I genuinely enjoyed this experience. So
Wow.
yeah, cool. Thanks, Loco.
That's
Thanks for coming to my DM one day randomly and then like, Luna.
Wait, explain it what I did in your DMs. Oh my god, Doran's gonna make fucking fun of me and like, oh, you tried to slide in her DMs.
Amazingly, just was asking you on a show. Fucking hell.
So Ashley, could you please explain to them what I did through
Man
the DMs?
alive, so you've dropped that at the end.
Please, Ashley.
I'm almost tempted to leave it like this.
No, Ashley!
He just came away. All you saw was it just said at Locodoco like, El Nuna, Sarangi, oh, you coming? And then you're like, oh, another one of these, eh? Block. Oh, it's Locodoco. Wait a minute. It's all right, he's harmless.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go on a show with you.
No, we were actually talking about LCK, and then he said, hey, actually, do you know about the LCK teams? And do you want to make an appearance in the show? And I was like, yeah.
Okay.
I thought you did a good job, so 감사합니다.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was our first time
Do
bringing
that or whatever it is, right? It's like that, isn't it?
Korean
Like
Hearts.
that.
Yeah.
See that? There you go.
It was our first time bringing a female guest on, and I was very afraid what Doran might say, because I told Doran, yeah, she's a friend. She also knows a lot about LCK. I thought he might roast you. I thought he might make an appropriate joke.
Definitely not. No, just charm them. Just keep a nice, friendly atmosphere that everyone enjoys.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I thought the episode turned out great. We'll be back tomorrow at 12:30 PST with Ben Spunt, the owner of Misfits. So we're gonna have more about like a franchise, like owning a team, talk about EU franchise, NA franchise. Hopefully a lot less cringy jokes from Doran on the next episode. Doran, any final words before we close out?
No, not really.
Okay.
Said enough.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Bye.